Bartender Cheryl Richter is suing her former best friend, clerk Debbie Parker, for a series of unpaid loans. Debbie says the money was never a loan.
Order. All rise. Now, this is case number 296 on the calendar in the matter of Richter versus Parker. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ladies, have seats, please.
Miss Richter, you and the defendant were best friends, according to the complaint that I've read. You claim that you made a series of loans to her. She did not pay you back. As a result of that, you didn't have enough money to allow your daughter to be on the cheerleading squad. Ms. Parker says that you always made more money than she did. You were best friends. There was never any loan. You did things together, and you paid for it because you had more money.
Yes.
How long have you been friends?
Approximately 8 years.
And tell me about the first loan that you claim to have made.
Well, the first loan, I was approached in May of 2001. Debbie needed to attend a wedding out of state, and her credit cards were maxed out, so she needed to use mine to purchase the tickets for the airlines.
Who was supposed to go to the wedding?
Debbie and her daughter, Jessica.
Only the two of them?
Yes.
Was this
correct.
a wedding that you were supposed to attend as well?
I was approached about attending the wedding a few months earlier, and I had let Debbie know that I would not be unable to attend.
At the time you put her tickets on your credit card, had you already told her that you weren't going to the wedding?
Yes, I had already told her weeks before that I would not be attending.
And how much were those tickets?
The airline tickets were $500.
Let me see. Did you ask her to put your airline tickets on her credit card?
I told Cheryl that I wasn't going to be able to go to the wedding because I didn't have enough funds, and she offered to help me, but not with the understanding that I would pay her back. Cheryl has always helped me in the past, and if there was ever agreement to pay her back, I always have.
So you tell me your version of how it came about, because now I understand that she actually did pay for the tickets, and I want you to tell me how it came about.
How it came
Look
about,
at me.
Yes. How it came about was that myself and my daughter, Jessica, we were going to go with Cheryl and Lauren back to my niece's wedding. While we were back east, we were going to also go to New York, hang out, have some fun, and we've gone on vacations many times before. When the time came closer to purchase the tickets, Cheryl did tell me that she could not go. I think she had something going on with her daughter, but it wasn't very early on in the planning. It was fairly close, maybe a month or two before we were going to go.
A month or two was not very close. Not the last minute, as you indicate in your answer to me. Say at the last minute she canceled out. She did not cancel out at the last minute. She canceled out at least a month before.
It could have been a month before.
She didn't cancel out. She said, I'm not going. Go ahead.
Right.
And you said?
I said, okay. And I hung up. Went on with my couple of weeks before I was getting ready to go. When I was going to make airline arrangements for myself and my daughter, I found that I did not have the funds at that time. And I called Cheryl and we talked. She offered to put this...
No, talking. Tell me what you did when you called her.
But it wasn't unusual for us to call each other.
You just told me you called her.
Right. I called her. We talked on the phone.
What did you say to her and what did she say to you?
We probably said, how's Lauren doing? I don't remember the exact conversation word by word, but I did tell her that I didn't think I was going to be able to go because I didn't have the funds. Cheryl offered to put it on her credit card.
Okay. And you have to pay her back.
This isn't unusual.
No good deed is... Shh, be quiet.
In the past, if she has ever lent me any money, I have always paid her back.
Listen to me, my dear.
This was not an
Listen to me, my dear. This was your niece's wedding.
Yes.
Your answer suggested that this was a wedding that you were both supposed to go to, that at the last minute she canceled out. She had put all the tickets on her credit card. She said, I'm not going. But for the fact that you were going together as a group, you wouldn't have gone at all. That's not really what happened. What happened is she gave you plenty of notice. I'm not going to the wedding. I have something else to do. A month or two in advance. You were going to put it on your credit card. You didn't have enough credit on your credit card. You pick up the phone, you call her. Because that's what you just started to tell me.
Yes.
You have to pay her back. What's the next loan for?
After she returned from the wedding, approximately a week later, she called me and told me that she needed to borrow some cash to pay bills either towards her rent or utilities or what have you. She needed $500 and wanted to know if I would be able to lend that to her. I said that I would, and outside of the airline tickets, there's the hotel expenses on there as well when she went to the wedding. And I went to her house and I brought her a check, and she still told me that she would be paying me back within about approximately 2 months.
Do you have a copy of that check?
Yes, I do.
May I see it, please? Okay. Let's hear about it, Miss Parker.
Up until right now, when she just handed you the check, I did not remember that. I did not remember about $500. I was going to come here and tell you I didn't owe it because I didn't remember.
Yeah, I see
it
in your answer that you say that she never gave you any cash. Okay. What else?
Then after that, we went to a concert.
After that, when?
September, Labor Day weekend, the four of us. I purchased all 4 concert tickets and was to be reimbursed for the concert tickets as well as the charges on the credit card and the $500.
How much were the concert tickets?
Each ticket was $56.25, so it was $102.50 for the 2 concert tickets.
What about the concert tickets?
In August, we met at Islands to celebrate my daughter's birthday. She told me that weekend she had tickets to go to a concert, and she invited us to go. We went. She never said anything about paying her back. She was a good friend of mine.
Was a good friend. A good friend doesn't borrow money and
then
not
why
pay
didn't you
it
ever
back.
say anything? I mean, our children talked online for a year, and she never said anything to me about this. And also, they invited us to her house for 4th of July. What was that?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I don't have that kind of money either, so I had to use the fundraising.
We could have raised the funds to pay.
You could have asked.
Listen
you
to
could
me.
have just said something to me.
Ladies.
Instead of waiting a year and then doing this to me.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Cheryl Richter claims former friend Debbie Parker owes for several unpaid loans. Cheryl says her daughter can't be a cheerleader until Debbie repays the money.
Miss Parker, let me ask you this question. What do you think
I don't
precipitated
know.
this? Maybe it was because she felt taken advantage of. If you didn't
If she
remember
would have just said one word to me like, I need help, can you help me?
Well, when was the first time she told you that she wanted you to give her this money back?
On July 5th of this year,
Yes.
I received a letter. I tried to contact her to make some type of arrangements. I was trying to figure out what the heck was going on. She never returned my calls.
And you can't think of any reason that happened.
I was hoping to find out from her why she's doing this to me, why she's standing there lying.
No, there's no lying. There's no lying.
When we
you did,
went
in
to-
fact, listen to me, Miss Parker. You did, in fact, borrow $500. You said to me, I didn't remember it until I saw the
Yes,
check.
that's true.
So it's $500, and it's well over a year. You never paid her back. But there had to be something, July 4th, something must have triggered it. I read her complaint. She says what triggered it was she didn't have money to sign her daughter up for cheerleading.
That's correct. And in fact, when we went to the concert in September, first of all, Debbie did acknowledge that she owed the money. She told me she had forgot her checkbook. And she told me that she was sorry that she hadn't paid me back yet. And she was coming over the next night for dinner. And when she came over that night, she was out of checks.
That's not true.
And then I ran into her after that in October, I believe, having dinner and drinks with coworkers. My daughter ran into her at the mall shopping at Christmas. And
Right.
in April of 2002, when my daughter was to try out for an all-star cheer squad, she went to the practices. She was approached by the coach. She was a year too young for the squad, but because her abilities were up to the level of the squad members, they would make an allowance. Well, I wasn't able to allow her to try out because I found out the cost was $2,000.
$2,000 to try out for cheerleaders?
For the entire year, including travel expenses. They're a top-ranked team in the nation, so they go to Texas and Florida for nationals. It would be for all the training as well as all of the uniforms.
Did you have to come up with the $2,000 up front?
Within a few weeks, so there was no time for me to fundraise to try to raise that money. So the coach called me the day of tryouts inquiring about whether or not she was going to try out. I just told the coach owner that I didn't know. I was embarrassed to tell her that I couldn't afford it.
Okay, so you got irritated.
I got irritated. Plus, Debbie's daughter, Jessica, is on a cheer squad, and she was able to find the $1,500 for her to participate last year and is once again on that cheer squad. Yet I'm saying no to my daughter because of the debt.
Gotcha.
Can I say something?
Sure.
I saw Cheryl, yes, out when I was at a restaurant with her girlfriend. Cheryl came in, no problem. Hey, we hugged. I go, my God, you look great. You just got back from Tahiti. She wasn't angry with me. She didn't say a word to me about any of this.
Something happened. I have a sense that whatever happened...
Maybe it was this whole thing about cheerleading, but let me tell you, please, I didn't pay a penny for her to go on cheerleading. So you should get your facts right.
Talk to me.
I didn't pay a penny.
Did she have a scholarship?
No. I fundraised. I sold entertainment books to get her on the cheerleading squad at her high school. Because I don't have that kind of money either, so I had to use the fundraising.
We could have raised the funds to pay.
No.
You could have asked.
Listen
you
to
could
me.
have just said something to me.
Ladies.
Instead of waiting a year and then doing this to me.
Miss Parker, please don't fight with each other. Gone beyond that. Just think about this. She can't fundraise to pay you back.
I understand that.
You understand that. And it's really unfortunate that a friendship denigrated to where we are. I have a feeling it is about the cheerleading. She's told you that you didn't have the money, that she fundraised. You didn't have time to do that. And I assume that it has to do with your kids, because nothing could make a mother get the tentacles out.
I just feel that this debt was not a priority to her. She found
May not have
had
been.
the time and the effort.
It may not have been.
But she owes me the money, and it doesn't matter.
She owes you the money.
It doesn't matter if I make more money. It doesn't matter if I make less money. She owes me the money.
You are absolutely 100% right. There is no faster way of destroying a friendship than lending money. Period. I'm much older than you ladies are, and I'm telling you, based upon what I've seen, the one who lends the money always ends up as the bad one. They want it back. It's not a good time. They don't need it right now. Why is she doing this, or why is he doing this to me?
Can I say something, Your Honor?
It's not going to make it any better with her. She wants her money. She's angry. She's entitled to her money. I don't know if you can ever repair. Are you two kids friends?
Not really.
Say no. She says.
I thought we were. Talks to her online.
She doesn't talk to her
Not
online.
anymore.
Oh, well, that's
You
sad.
haven't?
Shh.
We just talked. She just talked to her, and I told her about my daughter's medical problem, and she said, "What a bummer."
Okay.
I cannot believe that you would sit in here and lie, Lauren. I can't
I
believe
wouldn't
that.
be accusing anybody of lying.
She's going to lie
I don't
that
want to
she
hear
just
about
talked
it
to
anymore.
Jessica.
You're going to 1, 2, 3.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Cheryl Richter claims former friend Debbie Parker owes for several unpaid loans. Cheryl says her daughter can't be a cheerleader until Debbie repays the money.
Listen, your emotions are hot. It's very sad because the girls aren't friends anymore, you're not friends anymore. That's what happens when you lend money, when you borrow money, unless you have an agreement. I've always said, if you're going to be a lender, at least put it in writing. Then everybody knows the parameters. Don't be embarrassed. You have to say, listen, Judge Judy Sheindlin said, even though we're best friends, even though we're brother and sister, even though we're cousins, we really should have a writing. That way, everybody knows where they're at. Do you understand? Because they're sad. They're unhappy. They used to be friends. And it is sad. I'm not going to be able to fix it except to say that you're entitled to your money. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,600. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I don't like this because me and Jessica aren't friends anymore because our parents have a disagreement. Well, me and her were like best friends, and I don't know, it's just unfortunate that we're not going to be able to be friends.
I really want to be friends with Jessica again.
Well, I know it won't happen, but I just want to be friends with her again.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Heath versus Carter. Step forward, please.
Street sweeper Ray Heath is suing his ex-girlfriend, 20-year-old student Nicole Carter, for unpaid rent and for damages to their apartment. Nicole is countersuing, also for apartment damages and for the cost to change the locks.
Mr. Heath, you and Miss Carter decided to set up housekeeping in your own apartment, and you leased an apartment together. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
When did you lease the apartment?
April of 2001.
And because neither of you probably had very good credit, your aunt had to co-sign the lease.
Yes, ma'am.
And then there came a time when you and the defendant had an argument, and she called the police and had you removed.
Yes, in August.
And you stayed out of the apartment because she got a protective order against you. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
However, she wasn't paying the rent.
Right.
And in order for your, not only your credit, but primarily, I'm sure, your aunt's credit not to be destroyed, you continued to pay the rent on the apartment.
Yes, ma'am.
And you want the defendant to pay at least her half of the rent for the months that you weren't there, that she lived there, until you could get out of the lease. And how many months' rent did you pay from August until when, sir?
The agreement was made when we first moved in April. I paid the rent from April 2001 to January of 2002.
What was the entire rent?
$5,338.
That's an expensive apartment a month. I just want you to tell me, sir, how much a month was the rent?
Oh, $475. I'm sorry about that.
Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you pay rent in May, June, or July? Any rent? You did not.
No, ma'am.
So you didn't pay any rent at all in this apartment?
Nope.
Is that right?
He agreed to pay for the rent, and I clean, cook, and pay the electricity and stuff like that.
Did you have an agreement with her where she would pay half the rent?
No.
Yes,
Quiet.
yes, ma'am. Yes, we did. I have my aunt as a witness.
Are you the one who co-signed on this lease?
Yes.
Would you step up, please? Tell me your last name.
Wilkins.
Miss Wilkins, did these two young people come to you and ask you to sign the lease, co-sign the lease?
Yes, they did.
Both of them?
Both of them. I asked Nicole, was this true that she was going to pay half of the rent, and she told me yes.
Does that sound right?
No, ma'am.
Sure it does. Sure
No,
it does.
That's not how it went.
Listen, were you working?
Nope.
Why not?
At the time when we moved out, we didn't have anywhere to stay at, so I lost my job. That's when he said
May, June, July,
I never
August,
had a job.
September. Why don't you have a job? What do you do?
I was going to school. I was getting ready to go to school.
No, going to school and getting ready to go to school is two entirely different things.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Ray Heath says ex-girlfriend Nicole Carter owes for unpaid rent and apartment damages. Nicole says Ray abused her throughout their relationship.
Why weren't you working?
Because I had no transportation.
Aren't there any stores around this place where you were living?
Mm-hmm. I was looking.
What do you do for a living, sir?
Well, at the time, I was driving a sweeper. The
Now
streets.
let's get to the time you put him out of the apartment. Tell me about that.
Well, at the time, he'd been abusing me the whole time I've been with him.
Well, that's,
So-
you know, if you allow that to happen,
Yeah.
then you're just as stupid as he is guilty.
You're right. You're right. So we got into an argument over a car that my mother had gave me, and he took my keys.
What kind of an argument did you get into?
Well,
Your
I
mother had
came
given you a
from-
car, right? Mm-hmm. Your mother had given you a car, so now you had transportation so that you could get a job.
Yeah. You're right.
Right.
So
Well, now what
He
kind
didn't
of an
like the-
argument did you have?
he didn't like the fact that I was driving my car, going other places other than looking for a job.
Sounds right to me. He's
But no,
paying
it
all
wasn't
the
only,
bills.
It wasn't only that. It was just the simple fact that he didn't like my relationship with my mom, my mother coming around, and people that came to the house. He just was very overprotective. He didn't even want me to leave the house. If I wasn't looking for a job, he didn't want me leaving the house. He just wanted me there to cook, clean, and be there for him.
Okay. So you had an argument. Mm-hmm. What happened during this argument?
He was trying to take my keys from me, so I went to the bathroom to go put on some clothes, and he just grabbed the door open, grabbed me, and swung me into the bed on the floor. Grabbed my keys and left.
He took your keys and he took you out of the bathroom forcefully and threw you on the bed or the floor.
He threw me to the bed, but I landed on the floor.
He missed. Mm-hmm. So you called the police.
Yep.
And you had him removed. Mm-hmm. And you got an order of protection.
Next day, when he came back again.
Good. Now you have your car that your mother gave you.
Mm-hmm.
And you have a lovely smile.
Thank you.
So why couldn't you get a lovely job so that you could pay the rent? Who did you expect to pay the rent?
He put me through so much stuff where...
Who did you expect to pay the rent?
I was going to pay the rent. I had no problem with paying the rent. My mother would have helped me pay the rent, but I just couldn't get him out the house. He still was coming back to the house the whole time, even after I put him out. My house was broken into twice. He was coming, leaving notes, all types of things like that.
You lived there. Why didn't you pay your half of the rent?
Because he agreed to take care of me.
I don't believe you. That after you put him out of the house,
he had been taking care of me
listen to
the
me
whole time.
carefully, that after you put him out of the house, that he agreed to take care of you.
When I went to go pay the rent, they told me the rent was already paid, so what was I supposed to do? Just say, oh, well, take my money and give him his back?
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
All right, Mr. Heath, listen to me very carefully. You were put out in August. 6 months you paid rent, and you did not have the use of your apartment. The rent is $475 a month. That is $2,850. Half of that is $1,425. Do you understand? You have to think more carefully about what you do, but she's certainly responsible for that. The other 3 months that she lived there with you and you didn't collect her half of the rent, chalk up to your own stupidity. I mean, she's got a great smile and everything else, but you have to separate here from the other parts of your anatomy. In any event, now let's get to your counterclaim. You had to change the locks 3 times because he kept coming back inside?
Twice, yeah.
That's
He
the
was
interest.
not, it wasn't even that he kept coming in, he had broke in twice. He still had access to the house and I got the locks changed. He still was coming in there, leaving notes like turn the lights off and stuff like that. He was coming to get his clothes, he was living there. If I wasn't there, he was there.
You mean he was sleeping there?
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Mm-hmm. I would come there some nights and the bed would be messed up.
But he wasn't there.
But I was just scared. He wasn't there when I got there.
Okay. You changed the locks that made you feel safer?
No.
Oh, that's too big.
Because he was still calling, like, turn the lights off.
Say something to you. Go home and live with your mother.
I did.
Good. You should have done it sooner. You should have done it sooner. The only reason you did it was because you didn't have the sucker anymore to pay your way.
Basically.
Basically. That's absolutely right. As soon as the sucker stopped paying your way, then you move back with your mother. You're a taker. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,425, and you get zippo, nada, nothing on your counterclaim.
Well, at least I had an apartment.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Instead of him trying to be a pimp, he is a wimp.
I'm glad I got my money.
Stop pimping people.
Stop messing with low-life, hood rat, you know, females, and just focus on me and get my life together.
He was trying to pimp her, and he's a wimp.
I don't know what they talking about. I mean, I guess that's in their nature, low-budget hoes.
Don't mess with fake players.
Don't mess with low-life females.
Pimping ain't easy.
Donna Ward and her husband, Bill, are suing their son, 28-year-old house builder Sean Ward, and his fiancée, 24-year-old accountant Michelle Price. Donna says while visiting the couple's home, Sean assaulted her. Sean and Michelle are countersuing for filing false charges.
Order. All rise. Now, this is case number 106 on the calendar in the matter of Ward versus Price. Ward. Price has been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Mrs. Ward, the defendant is your son, and the co-defendant is his fiancée or girlfriend. Right. You have children together?
Yes, ma'am. Not together. I have a son, and she has a daughter.
But they live with you?
Yes, ma'am.
I've read your complaint very carefully, Mrs. Ward. This is your husband?
Yes, ma'am.
According to your complaint, you claim that your son assaulted you in his home, and that his fiancée was present, and while there is no claim that she assaulted you, she did nothing to prevent it.
Correct.
I don't know why you're standing up as a plaintiff, just to give moral support to your wife, sir?
Well, not only moral support, but I was there also because I wanted to stop the situation with my
You
boy.
were there on the evening of this alleged assault with your wife?
Yes, I was.
Why were you and your wife at your son's home?
Okay, my wife had called my son up. She wanted to talk to him. This is through a prior conversation she'd been trying to deal with him for a while.
About what, Mrs. Ward?
Go ahead.
About the TV and the VCR.
Tell me about the TV and the VCR.
My son and his wife, Ben, were having problems. Sean had sold everything in his house. He didn't have a good job like he does now. I mean, he was doing work, piecework.
Just a second. I read your complaint very carefully. Let me see if I can make this, because this is just a background to the story.
Okay.
Your son came to live with you for a while.
Yes, ma'am.
He was supposed to pay you rent, $50 a week.
Right.
He didn't pay you the rent.
No,
Exactly.
ma'am, I did pay.
Shh.
Okay.
You claimed he didn't pay you the rent. And you said, when you move, you'll leave me the TV and the VCR for the rent. And then when he moved out, he took the TV and the VCR.
Yes, ma'am.
And the reason you and your husband went over there that night was to take back the TV and the VCR.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, tell me what happened when you got there.
They were eating dinner. So we went in the living room while they was eating and watched TV. The children were there, too, eating. They got done, came in and gave us a hug, you know, and Michelle was getting them ready for bed. And so Sean says, well, you're here. What do you want to talk about? And I said, the TV and VCR. He said, I knew that's what it was going to be about. And he stood up. I said, he says, I do not owe you anything, Mom, nothing, and I want you out of the house. Well, I have a book right here where I kept notes, and his signature is on it. And I said, son, I have proof. I opened the book, and that's when he stood up and got very angry at me and told me to, I don't know the words he said, to get out.
Get out of the house.
And actually, I didn't really believe him. I meant, he's my baby son, and I believe in his
Just
word.
a minute. So he told you to leave his house at least twice?
Yes, ma'am.
And then what happened?
And I said, you're kidding, Sean. He said, I'm not kidding. Baba. He said some other words. And I said, then I'll go up and get it myself. I know I can't. Look at me, how much I weigh. I knew I couldn't get it myself.
Where was your husband during all this time?
Can I speak? I was in the living room.
So you were in the living room. So your
Yes.
wife was going to go upstairs and take the TV and the VCR. That's what she said she was going to do anyway.
That's correct.
So she started up the stairs, and what happened? Mrs. Ward.
Well, as she proceeded to start upstairs, first of all, I was shocked on the whole situation, the anger he threw at his mother. As I seen this anger, I just kind of looked at him and said, you know, you shouldn't talk to your mother that way because she is your mother, irregardless, you know, what she says or does. She proceeded to go upstairs. I went with her upstairs to slow her down and said, honey, I think we might as well go ahead and leave. And she says, well, I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to stay right here till he either gives me the VCR and the TV. And at that point, he says, well, I'm going to call the sheriff. She said, well, go ahead and call the sheriff. And he just got angry at that point. He says, well, the heck with it. As I was proceeding to hold her back a little bit from proceeding upstairs, then he turned around and got angry and turned around and says, well, by God, I'll get her out. Then he jerked her off the step, holding onto the steps, threw her on his back. I told him, do not hurt your mother. He says, oh, I'm going to put her out if that's the only way I can get her out. Then I heard a big old thud in the living room, and I come running in there. She had hit the floor. I don't know if he dropped her or what happened. She was really hurt, and at that time she was speechless. She was shocked, and she says, I am going on my own. You don't need to manhandle me anymore.
Incorrect.
So he proceeded to pick her up by the arm, straight up, head on out the door, all the way to the car, slammed her into the car. She hit her head on the door as she went in. And at that time, he just said, this is where you're going to stay, get out of here. So that's as far as it went. Why I didn't do anything, people says, well, why didn't you get a pipe and hit him over the head? First of all, he's my son, and I do love him. I love my wife both. They're trying to make a choice so quickly, and I'm not really much of a match to go jumping ahead and start doing something to my son again to his house. So there's a lot of thoughts had to go through my head. And
Was your wife drinking that day?
No, she was not.
She had anything to drink of an alcoholic nature. Just
No,
make sure.
She doesn't.
She don't drink. She might drink a little something. It wasn't alcohol. That
Okay,
had
so
anything to do with
this was not alcohol related. She was in total control of her senses
It was drug
when she
induced.
came to your house. Is that right?
Drug-induced, not alcohol.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
That was part of the deal. It showed
Deal, Schmiel, listen to me.
I gave him a place to live, Your Honor.
Big deal. It's your child.
And later today,
The relationship was quite expensive.
He gave me a promise ring.
She was constantly asking for money.
He promised to marry me.
I felt that I was being taken advantage of, literally.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Donna Ward says her son, Sean Ward, assaulted her while she was visiting his home. Sean says his mother was belligerent and refused to leave.
You take prescription medication?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
Now, you have photographs of your injuries?
Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to see them. The marks that I see on your arms are consistent with being picked up by your arms.
Yes, ma'am.
That was your injury.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, I'm going to let you tell me your side of the story, Mr. Ward.
Okay.
Okay. First of all, the case is dismissed for all purposes against Miss Price because she did not participate in this,
Correct.
other than to stand by and do nothing, which is the same thing you did, Mr. Ward. She's not even married to him. You're married to her. Why would you sue Miss Price?
Because I felt like, just like he did, tried to get Sean to calm down. I was hoping that maybe she...
Your
I don't
husband
know.
didn't come to your defense. Why would a stranger?
Not for me, for her husband. I thought maybe she would ask Sean to stop. I mean, that's all.
She's not a party to this case.
Okay.
So, tell me your version of the events. Your mother came to get...
Yes,
your mother
ma'am.
came...
My mother came to the house. I had paid them $100 a week instead of the $50 that she was agreed on to pay. So therefore, she knew the TV was paid for. She let me take it on wheel out the house. The only reason that I had any confrontation with her at all, because both my 5- and 6-year-old kids were standing in the living room, that she had asked for them to be present. I thought maybe she had a health problem that she was getting ready to tell us about. And when she did come up with that situation, I did get angry, but I did stand up and ask them both to leave. I opened both the doors And I said, well, y'all need to leave. And I might have said it a little meaner. Get out of my house.
Right.
They would not leave.
Ultimately, you picked her up and put her out of the house.
Yes, ma'am. I picked her up off the steps.
And that's what the marks are on her arm.
That possibly could be.
All right. This part of the case is pretty easy. Mr. and Mrs. Ward, you are not entitled to any damages. You entered his home with his permission.
Exactly.
Then he asked you to leave. You refused to leave. At that point, you are trespassing on his property. He asked you to leave again. You still would not leave. The law permits him, as I'm sure the judge told you in court when you were there on the criminal case, that he has the right to use reasonable force. Can't shoot you. He can't stab you. But he can physically take you and move you out of his property, which is exactly what he did. Now, the fact that I don't understand why you are there trying, if your son is finally back on his feet, and he's now got a good job, and he's got a home, and he's got 2 kids that he's taking care of, why in the world you would make a big deal out of a television set and an old VCR, I haven't a clue. But I'm not going into that.
Okay.
Because there's no logical reason why you would go to his house and create a scene with 2 children there to get back a TV and a VCR that you think was owed to you for rent.
I did not. I let the children go upstairs. I've asked him without the children being around.
I don't know why you would ask for it at all.
Because, ma'am, that was part of the deal.
Deal? Schmeal, listen to me.
I gave him a place to live, Your Honor.
Big deal. He's your child.
I know, and I'm his mom. I did not want to do this.
Well, you shouldn't have done it.
Sean knows in his heart that he said, I believed in his word. And
Mrs. Ward.
Yes, ma'am.
How many children do you have?
I have 7.
If your child has not been doing well for a while, as you said he hasn't been, he'd been in and out of your house, and he was finally, according to you, finally got a good job and back on his feet, what mother in her right mind would say, now I'm going to take the television set that you watch and the VCR that you watch, or that the children watch in their room? There's no excuse. You could talk from today till tomorrow. I have children.
I know.
And for $250, you went to the house to make a scene?
No, ma'am, I did not intend to make any kind of
Of course
scene.
you did. Because
No,
once
ma'am.
he said to you, I'm here for the TV and the VCR, and he said, I don't want to talk about it now,
only
please
started
leave, then you decided to go upstairs and you said, I'm going to take it myself. That's creating a scene.
I didn't think that I was very smart, Your Honor.
Oh, fine.
But he had
Good.
gotten a big, huge television, and I figured that he knew we were down. That TV would have helped us. We were down, and there was nobody helping us.
Stop it. Your children aren't supposed to help you. You're supposed to help them.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Donna Ward says her son, Sean Ward, assaulted her while she was visiting his home. Sean says his mother was belligerent and refused to leave.
You were arrested for assault,
Yes, ma'am.
and those charges were dismissed.
Yes, ma'am.
And I assume that they were dismissed, Mr. Ward, because they ultimately determined that you had the legal right to put your mother off the property.
Correct on
Is
her
that
own
right?
testimony. I didn't even have to testify.
Right. You can't sue her.
Right.
Here, you can't sue her.
Correct.
The district attorney determined that there was sufficient evidence to go to trial with because your mother had your fingerprint marks on her arms.
Correct.
Why she proceeded that far, I don't know, but she did. So you have no right to sue her for false arrest because you did, in fact, put your hands on her. You weren't in fear of your life from your mother. You weren't in fear of life, and certainly not from
No,
your
ma'am.
father because he didn't do anything.
No, ma'am. I intended no harm, and due respect to you and her, I do love my mother. Only thing I have here is the bills that I had to pay, my lawyer bills, and
You shouldn't have put your hands on your mother.
and then been out.
You shouldn't have put
You're
your,
absolutely correct,
You shouldn't have
ma'am.
put
But
your hands
I
on
was
your mother.
looking
Pay your
forward-
own bills.
I was looking forward
Case
to
is
my
dismissed.
kids.
That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I have always believed in his word, and you can't stand by your word. What else do you have?
He's upset with the fact that he's fighting with his mother, which no person wants to be, and I just wish it would all be over with.
I would like us to be a family. I don't know if that's possible.
What I wanted was just my name to be cleared, and that happened. So I'm very happy about it.
Jose Ortiz is suing the mother of his children, 25-year-old restaurant shift supervisor Mary Palacios, for the cost of a trip to Disneyland, car insurance bills, and the return of photographs. Mary is countersuing for medical bills and the return of property.
Order. All rise. Now, this is case number 287 on the calendar in the matter of Ortiz versus Palacios. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Gentlemen, have seats.
Mr. Ortiz, you and the defendant have 3 children together, is that right?
That's correct, Your Honor.
You say she owes you some money. Palacios says she doesn't owe you anything. As a matter of fact, she believes that you should give her some money for medical bills for the birth of one of your children, as well as some personal property. Is that right?
Yes.
How old are these children?
The other one is 4 years. That's a boy. The other one is 3 years, and my baby boy is about 9 months.
And where do these children live?
Currently, they live with the mother.
Is that right?
Yes.
And who do you live with?
With my parents.
How long have you been together with Mr. Ortiz?
We were together for almost 5 years.
During that time that you lived together?
Yes.
Is that right?
That's correct.
When did you go back to live with your mother?
On May 28th, 2002.
And since you've been living with your mother, how much child support has Mr. Ortiz paid you?
Nothing.
Why?
Because she have failed to the child support agency to submit all the financial statement. Nothing have been settled to the child support
I don't care whether
agency.
it's been settled. What do you think? The kids don't eat between May and settlement date? They don't have doctors? They don't have clothes? What do you mean, no?
I mean, I do think that the children, they eat, and they need stuff.
Why didn't you give her any money?
Because I don't have a job, Your Honor.
You have 3 children and no job?
That's true.
Really? Something wrong with you?
Yes.
What?
I got hurt at work on June 19 and got surgery on July 27, and since then I've been TTD.
What's TTD?
Total temporarily disabled.
What's the nature of your disability?
Problems with my back.
And you just had these problems with your back since a month after she left?
No, that's incorrect.
Well, how long have you had problems with your back?
Over a year.
Over a year?
Mm-hmm.
Who supports you?
Nobody.
Who feeds you?
Nobody.
You mean you haven't eaten in a year? Mr. Ortiz, who supports you?
The only source of income I was receiving was a work compensation.
How much?
This month I started receiving $210 for permanent disability.
Who do you live with?
Nobody.
Do you have your own apartment?
Yes, I do.
You pay rent?
No, I don't pay rent.
Who pays your rent?
Nobody, because I own the place.
You own what place?
The apartment.
When did you buy the apartment?
On the year 1999.
While you were still together?
Yes.
How much did you pay for it?
I paid $70,000.
You have a mortgage?
Yes, I do.
Who pays the mortgage?
I'm responsible to pay it.
Mr. Ortiz, you understand where I'm going, sir? You're suing her because you wanted to pay for the cost of a trip. Reimbursement for some of a Disneyland trip that you took with her. Who went on the trip? The 2 of you. Who else?
Or family.
The whole family?
Yes.
When did you go on the trip?
September last year.
Was that shortly before or after you became disabled?
I was already disabled by then.
Then you shouldn't have gone on a trip to Disneyland. If you had no money, you don't go on a trip to Disneyland and expect her to pay half. She's got 3 children. You haven't paid her a dime since May. What, are you crazy? You think I'm going to give you any money? Shh, quiet! You think I'm going to give you any money? Man goes on disability. You're not too disabled to go to Disneyland. You spend a fortune in Disneyland when you're not working because you're disabled, because you have a back problem. And you expect me to order her to pay you for half of the trip to Disneyland? Hello? Then you want to be reimbursed for car insurance. You want to tell me about the car insurance?
Yes, Your Honor.
Go ahead.
Last year, I referred her where she's currently employed. I put the word in for her, that way she can get hired. And then she didn't have a way to transportation. And then she said that she wanted to use my vehicle. And she promised me that she was going to pay for the maintenance and the car insurance for this vehicle.
I'm not even asking her that question. You mean because you were unemployed, because you're disabled, because you have a bad back that only lets you go to Disneyland. She went and got a job. She needed a car to go to the job. You're living as a family with your 3 children. She drove your car, so you wanted to pay your insurance. Is that what you're telling me? Is that what you're telling me? Hello?
What I'm telling you is that she promised that she was...
I don't care. I don't believe it. I'm not even going to ask her. I don't care. You made 3 children. You made a promise, morally, to support them. You haven't done it. For a long time, you haven't done it. What?
We split up in May. They spent 16 days with me, those children, on the month of June. The child support is to be retroactive as of June. Since then, I've been working with the child support agency, and I'm just waiting to pay all my...
Listen to me, sir. Because you're waiting for the child support agency to tell you how much to pay doesn't mean that you don't give her money for the children. Do Do you understand?
I understand, Your Honor.
Good. You're living in your condo, paying the mortgage. She's living with her parents, who did not bargain to have 3, 4 little kids home with them because the two of you split up. She can't afford to live in her own place. Are you working?
Yes.
What kind of work do you do?
Right now I'm a shift supervisor.
How many hours a day do you work?
Normally, a day I work 7.5.
And who takes care of your children?
My mother and my sister.
What about him? He doesn't do anything. Why did he babysit for the children during the day?
Because he was very abusive. That's why we got to
he's very abusive that I wouldn't let him take care of a goldfish. In any event, Mr. Ortiz, you get no money from her. Nothing. You have to have a good moral character. First of all, you live together with her as a family, despite the fact that you chose not to get married. Why, I will never know. If you made 3 children, is there any reason why you didn't get married?
Yes, Your Honor. There's a big
What is
reason.
that?
It's a long story from the very beginning. When she got pregnant, she was not living with me. You know, we were having an affair together.
Why don't you tell me why you didn't get married after your second child was born?
Because that was the reason. She was not living with me when she got pregnant with the second child.
What about with the third one?
With the third one, because she wanted an abortion, she never wanted to do nothing with me.
So you mean you asked her to marry you and she said no?
I never asked her to marry me.
You wanted her to ask you?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
My dear Mr. Ortiz, Byrd didn't make your 5 children. You made your 5 children. If you can't afford to support 5 children, you don't make 5 children. Period.
And later today,
Miss Brooks says there was a terrible storm, and when she came down to check on
the dog,
she also checked on the
equipment,
and she doesn't know anything about anything.
Correct.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Jose Ortiz says his ex-girlfriend, Mary Palacios, owes for the cost of a trip to Disneyland. Mary says Jose doesn't pay child support for their 3 kids.
What do you want? Medical bills?
Yeah, at least half of the medical bills and reimbursement for everything he kept. Because when I left him with only what I had and a few change of clothes for my children.
Tell me why.
Because I was already afraid of him, and I had it already. I got fed up. And when I asked him that I wanted the rest of my clothing, he told me that it was his property, that I had no right going back to his property. So I never went back. Only one time I went back with 2 sheriffs who escorted me in order to keep the peace. The only thing I ended up getting out of there as well was a few more changes of clothes, but I didn't get all of them. He kept the majority of them. But I left
of
him
your
because,
clothes?
Yeah, of my clothing. And I've seen
Where's
him
her
wear
clothing?
a few of my pants.
The only thing I have is this that she left on my card. That's it.
I'm sorry, that is a lie.
Just a second. Now tell me about the furniture. Did you keep all the furniture?
Yes, I do have all the furniture, Your Honor.
Who purchased it?
I did, Your Honor.
And what about her?
She didn't purchase nothing.
What was she doing?
Just home.
She was home taken care of?
The children, she didn't want to work. She put many excuses. Who's going to pay babysitting? I'll probably get the minimum wage. And then whatever I will be making, I will be spending on child care. That's what she told me.
And?
And she never wanted to work.
Okay. Listen to me very carefully, madam. You have no claim for furniture unless you can demonstrate to me that you paid for it.
Mm-hmm.
Because the 2 of you were not married for whatever reason. When you're not married, there is no court that's going to say that we're going to equitably distribute this property. And as far as the medical bills for the birth of one of the children, your family court action that settles the issue of support should also settle the issue of medical bills, because he is required by law, once paternity is established, to go back and pay, in addition to his child support, the birthing costs of the children. Do you understand that?
When we went to family law, I went to child support services, and I asked them if there's somehow that they can make him pay for the rest of this, because I've already paid for like half of it.
Let me see it. And they said what?
They told me what I needed was a court order stating that he is...
the father?
Actually saying that he does have to pay half of it.
Your Honor, she's claiming 2 bills. I have paid the one for Brea. The other one is from abortion that she had in the year 2000.
Is that true?
I've never had an abortion. Now, when we went to family law, he also signed his own stipulation saying that he would agree to pay half of it.
Oh, he did?
Yes. Only I didn't sign it because what he wanted me to agree on was joint custody, and that I didn't think was right because they needed to be somewhere where, a stable home, not just
Well,
jumping.
nobody's going to give him custody of the children if you say he's abusive, and you can establish that.
Your Honor, I have joint custody, physical and legally, with my child.
Really?
Yes, I do.
Show
Not
me.
anymore.
I don't have the court order with me, but I do have joint custody, physical and legal, with my child.
Well, when are the children with you, sir?
They were Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday That way she can have the weekend.
Is that right?
No, it's going to change now because he was found to be mentally unstable in family law, and also that it was found that he was very controlling and abusive in our relationship. And now what he's going to get from now on is supervised visitation, Saturdays from 10 to 2, Sundays 10 to 2, and it has to be supervised.
Is that correct, sir?
I
just want to know what the current order is. Is it for supervised visitation or is it 4 days a week?
It's current until the order kick in.
When was the last time you saw your children, sir?
Last week.
When did you see them?
Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
And they stayed at your house?
Correct.
Do you have a copy of this order
It's
for
not
supervised?
in yet because it just went through October 10th, and it's not in yet.
Was he present?
Yes, he was.
Were you present when the court issued a ruling?
No, the ruling that the judge made it on the 11th this month. And I was on court hearing on the 10th because I want custody of my child that she's been abusing so much.
All right. When are they supposed to give you an order with regard to the child support?
I have an appointment October 28th to determine who's going to have to pay and how much.
Okay, fine. So I'm not making
Your
any
Honor, I
order.
have a court hearing yesterday for one of my childs, and my child support with my daughter was dropped to 0 because I can afford the payments. Also, you know, I've been using my credit card to pay for some of the stuff that my child needs.
Sir, I would suggest that what you do is you find another way of making a living. Did you walk into the courtroom today?
Yes, I
did.
did.
You walk into the courtroom today?
Yes, I did.
Have you been standing there for 20 minutes?
Yes, I do.
You haven't been using crutches or a cane. You've been standing there. You're going to turn around and walk out? And you're speaking. Is that right?
Yes.
Then what you have to do is to find a job, sir, that doesn't require the use of your back if your back hurts you. You have to find another way of earning a living.
I just got my license permits from the California. I'm
For
going
what?
to start to sell computers. I haven't even started my business. I have my permit, my state.
So you're going to start a business?
I'm going to start my own business, yes, Your Honor.
Good. You mean instead of getting a job so
Yes,
that you
Your
can
Honor,
attach your
because
salary? Are these the only 3 children that you have?
I have 5 children, Your Honor.
Where are your other 2 children, sir?
The other one is over there on the same town where I live. One of them is right here on L.A.
How old are they?
The oldest one is 10 years old. The other one is 8 years old.
You send their mother's child support?
Yes, Your Honor.
When was the last time you sent money for those 2 children?
On my last paycheck that I got.
Which was when?
I believe it was like on the 15th.
Of what?
Of this month.
You told me you didn't get a paycheck. You told me you haven't been working in a year.
Yes, Your Honor, but my sole income is the permanent disability that I'm collecting right now, and they basing my child support on that. And then she's expecting me to pay child support too on top of supporting my other 2 children.
Listen, my dear Mr. Ortiz, Byrd didn't make your 5 children. These 2 gentlemen didn't make your 5 children. You made your 5 children. If you can't afford to support 5 children, you don't make 5 children. Period. End of discussion. He supports his children. I support my children. We don't want to support your children. And if you can't support 5, you don't have 5. You have 1.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Jose Ortiz says his ex-girlfriend, Mary Palacios, owes for the cost of a trip to Disneyland. Mary says Jose doesn't pay child support for their 3 kids.
Mr. Ortiz, you get 0 from this lady. And madam, start life afresh. You have 4 children. Hopefully you can get some child support from him because you are not blameless in this whole thing either.
Yeah.
You know, you had 1 child, then you had 3 more with him. Bum, bada bum, bada bum, right? You're not married. How old are you?
25.
25. Not smart. Not smart. You have certain responsibility.
Yes, I know.
So, and you brought your troubles home to your mother because she didn't anticipate having to start rearing children now, I'm sure, at her stage in life.
That's true.
What you have to do is you have to realize you made a mistake, put a period, and move on. Do you understand?
Yes, I do.
Good. Goodbye, folks.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
He can't control me anymore. That's it. That's the bottom line.
Then with you, because you just have money, you don't have money to throw you away.
I was always too afraid to have him arrested because he always told me if I did have him arrested, he'd bring me down with him.
She put me like a boogeyman. Boo!
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Sims versus Cruz. Step forward, please.
Serviceman Billy Sims is suing the daughter of his late father's girlfriend, 21-year-old Christina Cruz. Billy says Christina stole a cell phone off of his father's dead body.
Mr. Sims, your father passed away in June of this year?
That's correct, Your Honor.
According to your complaints, he passed away. He had a heart attack in his car.
That's correct, Your Honor.
And the defendant was in the car with him, along with her boyfriend?
I'm not exactly sure if she was either in the car or if she was following behind him in another vehicle, but they were traveling together.
How did they know each other, do you know?
The defendant's mother had a relationship with my father.
Is that right? So your mom and his dad
were dating.
When his father had the heart attack, were you in the car with him?
Yes, Your Honor.
Oh. And this is all about a cell phone.
That's correct.
Because it is your claim that the defendant took your dad's cell phone after he had the heart attack and died.
Yes, Your
in
Honor.
their presence
Yes,
in the
Your
car.
Honor.
And Ms. Cruz says that she has the cell phone, but that he gave it to her.
Okay.
June what did your father pass away?
It was June the 18th of this year, Your Honor.
What time?
I have a copy of his death certificate.
May I see it, please?
Sure. The coroner put his time of death at about 2:30 p.m. Of course, the...
Okay. Did there ever come a time when you got property that was on his person at the time that he died?
Yes, Your Honor.
When was that?
The following day, on the 19th, that morning, the county coroner called me and my brother to come and get his personal effects. Now, we had to get his vehicle.
Okay. What personal effects did you pick up?
Okay, I picked up his wallet, his checkbook.
Okay, wallet. Was there anything in the wallet?
His identification and some of those things.
Any cash?
There was no cash in his wallet, Your Honor.
Do you know where your father was going on the 18th of June?
Yes, I do, Your Honor. He was doing, my father was retired. He spent most of his time just doing yard work for people, doing handyman jobs really for little or no pay. And he was assisting the defendant's mother on doing some of this work.
Okay. When was the last time you had spoken to your father from the cell phone?
The morning before his death, probably maybe about an hour or an hour and a half before his actual death.
Did you call him or did he call you?
He called me twice, Your Honor.
From his cell phone. Prior to that, for what period of time had your father had this cell phone?
He's probably had the phone almost 2 years. He's had this cell phone, Your Honor.
And is that the phone that he uses primarily for his communication with you?
That's correct, Your Honor.
All right, now, Ms. Cruz, it is your claim, your defense, and you say you do have the phone, and you did use the phone, but that it was a gift to you.
Yes, Honor.
Now, I'd like you to tell me your version of the events when Mr. Sims' dad picked you up, because that's what happens. He picked you up along with this person?
Yeah.
Who was this
my
person?
Witness. Oh, that's my boyfriend.
So let me hear. He came and picked you up at your mom's home?
No, he came over my house and picked us up, and we were going to go swimming. But first, we were going to do some stuff for my mama.
Okay. Now tell me about the cell phone.
And he took me and my boyfriend to the side. And
To
said,
the side of what?
Of his truck.
Yes.
And said, y'all are like my kids and everything, and I'm going to give you my cell phone. But we have a deal. You pay me $50 a month. And we agreed on it. All three of us agreed on it.
Just a second. So you're saying he took you on the side of the truck and said, you're like my kids.
Yes, Your Honor.
And I want you to have my cell phone. Is that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
Did he have another cell phone?
No, he
just had that one cell phone?
Just that one and the house phone.
Well, but he had the cell
Yeah.
phone. That was his cell phone.
Yeah.
And as long as you knew him, he had only used that cell phone. Is that right?
Yes, Your
Is
Honor.
that right? So on that day, he said to you, you're like my kids, I want you to have the cell phone.
Yes, Your Honor.
Liar! You're a liar.
There was other witnesses
Bald-faced liar. You took his cell phone off his dead body.
No,
and you
was not
probably also took the cash out of his wallet before the police got there. Not a question in my mind. Why would a man, unless he anticipates his own death, who has used a cell phone for 2 years to communicate with the rest of the world, all of a sudden take you and this person who was sitting over here and say, I want you to have my method of communication? Why in the world would he do that? You're like my kids. If you're like my kids, then he goes and buys you a cell phone and said, here's a cell phone.
No, because he got tired of carrying it around and everything.
It was too heavy. It was too, just a minute. Please do me a favor. Put your hand down. I don't have to listen to that baloney anymore. It's baloney. Could I please see the expenses that you are claiming for the cell phone?
Yes, Your Honor.
Did they use it, by the way?
Yes, Your Honor. They used it. Those 3 days, there were approximately about 400 minutes that were used. And I have those.
Well, just a minute. How much was the cost?
The total cost for the cell phone minutes, it was 35 cents a minute. I don't have that itemized. But
Well, just a minute. Did you ever get a bill from them for this?
Yes, Your Honor.
Well, I want to see the bill that you got.
This has the outstanding minutes that he had left over in excess that we had to terminate because it could have been transferred over to his next of kin. That's what the first statement says. That's from the wireless people.
No. I understand what you're saying, Mr. Sims. Listen to me. What you're saying is he had sort of credits, that it didn't cost you hundreds and hundreds of dollars because they took the phone, but that you, as his beneficiary or next of kin, could have used those minutes if you wanted to from his cell phone plan. Is that what your plan is? Get a life. Where's the phone?
We don't have it anymore.
What'd you do with it?
The guy that was staying with Billy, his daddy, took it. And it's my brother.
Your Honor, there was no one staying with my father. He lived alone. But we asked her the Friday when we first found out that she was the one that had the phone. When she returned the phone call, she said that we were not going to get the phone back, that she got to the phone before we did, and that he's dead, and she's just as entitled to it as...
Let me tell you something. Some people will be happy, productive, moral people their whole lives, and they will raise, hopefully, happy, productive, moral offspring. And some will not. We're not talking about a lot of money, but we are talking about those people who have the capability of being moral people and those who lack the capability of being moral people. Yes, we're talking about a $40 phone bill, which you're going to get, and let's say your father really had a state-of-the-art telephone. A really good one costs $150, is that right?
Yes,
really
Your Honor,
good one?
it's on the estimate.
$150 plus 40 is $190. You don't get paid for the minutes, right? And I want you to, you have to feel sorry for them. I want you to feel sorry for them. Don't be angry with them. They're never going to be able to get smarter. They're never going to get more morals that anywhere relate to what civilized people do, because anybody they could take property off a dead person, which is what they did, will never change. Because I don't believe that anybody, your father's age, drives a car and rides around with not a dollar in his wallet.
That's correct, Your Honor.
I don't believe that that happens. That doesn't happen. So if you're a death scavenger, you're never going to change. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $190. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
We didn't take it. He gave us it.
There are people in this world that are going to act that way, so instead of being angry, pity them, and that's what I do.
I feel sorry, too, because he died on me.
I'm very happy with the judge's decision, and I'm glad that we can finally put this part of my father's life to rest.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Barnett versus Jimenez. Step forward, please.
Teacher Eileen Barnett is suing her former roommate's boyfriend, 25-year-old electrician Adrian Jimenez, for crashing into her car and her home.
Miss Barnett, you know the defendant because somehow you live in the same house that his girlfriend lives in?
Yes, I rent a room to his girlfriend.
You're not going to have to say much because I really need the explanation from Mr. Jimenez. According to your complaint, your car is parked in front of the house. Mr. Jimenez was coming to visit his girlfriend. He pulled into the driveway, I guess, of the house and hit your car. Your car then proceeded to roll into the house, causing a substantial amount of damage to both your car and the house.
Yes, ma'am.
You're suing for both?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Mr. Jimenez acknowledges the fact that his car, according to him, tapped. Is that right, Mr. Jimenez?
That's correct.
Tapped your car, and as a result of that tap, it went into the house. He, however, says it is not his fault because you left your car in neutral and parked it in not a great spot. So therefore, she is responsible. Is that right, for her car going into the house? Now, I want you to be quiet, Mr. Jimenez, because I'm going to ask you a series of questions. You see that picture that's right in front of you?
Yes.
I want you to keep looking at it. I want you to stare at it, sir. Did it move?
Not yet, no.
How long do you think you can look at that picture until it moves?
Not long enough.
Now, let's say you take your finger and tap the picture. Just tap it a little bit. See if you can get it to... See how it moved?
It budged.
Just a second. You see how it moved?
Yes, I did.
All right. Her car may or may not have been parked in neutral. Her car may or may not have had the emergency brake on. That is not the reason the car moved. The reason the car moved is because you hit it. Do you understand? Like the picture moved, not because you were willing it to move, but because your finger touched it.
Okay, I even gave her money towards the payment, okay, for me to be able to fix it. I told her, my estimate, okay, for my friends, I can get it paid, work done for $100, give or take.
Yeah, it's just a minute.
Okay.
Go ahead. So?
Now, when I went to her and I gave her that money, and I asked her for a receipt, she didn't. She told me she wasn't going to give me one. What more can I say?
Can I see the photographs of the damage, please, first?
Okay.
He gave you $100.
Right here is a photograph of the driveway where he veered off right before he hit the rose bushes. That would be right before the
Can
house.
I see a picture of the damage, please?
Okay, and right here is rose bush damage. Damage to the house. That is the damage to the house. Mind you, the wood and the grate were not on there. They were put on there for fear of burglary afterwards because there was an open hole in my house.
Your Honor.
Due to the fact of my car, after being pushed by his car
Rose bushes.
into my house, took out the whole window. We had to remove the bay window.
Okay, now can I please see the cost of replacing the bay window?
Okay, this is the cost of the bay window alone without the labor.
Okay.
Okay, I'm having a relative install it, so...
Okay, shh.
Now, Your Honor, she was already having her house remodeled, okay?
When her car went into the house, did it go into the bay window?
Went right underneath it.
Did it break the window?
No, it did not.
It didn't.
And it didn't. And it already had the fence on it.
That is a lie, Your Honor.
Just, of course it is. You mean she just put this wood up in front of where the window was for no reason?
You know, I don't know why she put the wood there, okay? The railing was already there. The window
No.
didn't break, otherwise I would have seen
That
glass.
is another lie, Your Honor.
Okay.
Now, if my truck hit her car with the force and momentum that she
Now,
said...
can I please see the damage to the
This
car?
is a man, yeah, this is
How
Can
come
I
there's-
see photograph of the car damage?
I do not have the photograph for the car damage because I was under the assumption that he was going to pay for it. So it was already fixed, and then he denied payment. He told me to go ahead and get an estimate, and I went and got it fixed. And he's saying he can go to pick apart and fix my car for $100 when there's clearly a lot more damage to the car than that.
I'm responsible for the back bumper.
The front bumper hit the
front of the car,
Her
and the right rear bumper was hit by his car.
Yes. So it was damage to both ends. And for $100, he smacked down the table. He said he could fix it and pick apart for that
Your
kind of
rear
damage.
bumper, which is what I'm responsible for.
No, you're not.
Why not? That's what
Because
I did.
Hey,
That's what a homeowner's insurance is for.
listen to me. Listen to me, sir. You're entitled to the damage you caused.
I was parked halfway on the driveway.
So what?
I mean,
It's my driveway.
how many people, okay, get out their car to go get the mail and leave the car running, okay, in neutral without the emergency brake on? I mean, Your Honor.
People that were going to go back and get in
you know
the
what?
car to
That's
drive up to
basic
their house
driver's ed,
afterwards.
Listen
okay?
to me, sir.
And if you park on a slope, you turn your wheel.
Listen to me,
You don't
sir.
aim it to your house.
Why did you hit her car?
Why did I barely tapped it when I was trying to move around it?
You're so full of baloney. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $4,417. Listen, you do something wrong, you pay for it. She doesn't have to say to you, you and one of your street mechanic friends can fix my car, and she doesn't have to leave her window boarded up. You caused this accident. You. Just like that thing didn't move until you moved it with your hand. Her car would not have moved unless you hit it.
Your Honor, she was already having her house redone.
Period. So what? You just helped it along.
Hey, why didn't I
You
just
helped it
pay for
along.
you know?
That's all. Step out.
I'm not saying it's her fault. I'm saying she just doesn't know how to drive.
I watched my car just go right into my house and break everything, run over my roses.
She wants me to go ahead and redo her car also, I mean, and her house, and her garden? Come on now.
He got exactly what he deserved.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Norris versus Thorpe. Step forward, please.
Student Diane Norris is suing her estranged son-in-law, 24-year-old construction worker Travis Thorpe, for an unpaid loan for legal fees, travel expenses, and interest on the loan.
Miss Norris, the defendant used to date your daughter. Is that right?
They were married, Your Honor.
They were married.
Yes, ma'am.
When were they divorced?
They're not divorced yet.
So they're still married.
Yes, ma'am. Separated but married.
When did they separate?
In April of this year.
Do they have children?
No, ma'am.
According to your complaint, you made a loan to the defendant for some bail and attorney's fees. And he's paid you back some, but hasn't paid you back all. You want your money.
Yes, ma'am.
What was the nature of his offense? Do you know?
It was a technical violation. He hadn't paid his fees.
What kind of fees, sir?
Probation fees.
What had you been arrested for?
Burglary of a structure was my original charge.
And you bailed him out?
Yes, ma'am.
How much did you give him?
Altogether, it was $750 for his probation fees, $638 to get the attorney to get the bond set.
And what was your arrangement with him?
Travis agreed to pay me back when he got his income tax return. And they only got back about $300. So they paid me about $150 out of that. And then the following year, when they got another income tax return, they paid me about $300.
I will hear you.
Okay, first of all, when I was in jail, I didn't ask for the money. She gave it to my wife at the time, but I still felt I needed to pay it back. So I signed my income tax check over to her, which was $12.89.
Can I see it, please? Are you his wife?
Yes.
Step up, please. Tell me your first name.
Jennifer?
Jennifer, when your husband was arrested, you called your mother, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
You asked her for the bail money?
We went and got...
No, you asked her.
Yes.
And what did you tell your mother with regard to when she would get this money back?
I told her that we would pay her back as soon as we got our income tax.
You told her that?
Yes.
Not him. You told her that?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead.
I wanted to give the entire thing to my mom, and he was like, no, I can't do that, you know, and he had to spend, you know, $1,000 of it on drugs. So I made him give my mom $300 out of it.
What happened to your marriage?
He fell in love with another woman.
That make you angry?
Yes, it did.
Make your mother angry?
No, it didn't make my mother angry. She has no say in it. I mean, I did ask her for the money, yes. It was me that asked her for the money because he was in jail. But, I mean, the whole time he was on the phone, please get me out of jail. And I loved him, and I had to get him out of jail.
Just to say, listen to me.
I'm sorry.
He was talking to you.
He spoke with my mother a lot when he was in jail. He spoke with her and me.
He did. I went to jail to visit him, and he told me when I went to visit him that they would pay me back with the income tax refund.
Did you tell her that you would pay her back?
Yes, I did say I would pay her back, so I signed my income tax check over to her. I gave her that entire income tax check and paid about $600 on the bond. I paid all but $320 on the bond, and then all my probation fees.
The bond wasn't even $600. It was $500 to begin with. And we didn't have enough cash, so we put my mother's car titles up, her and her boyfriend's car titles up to get the bond, to get him out. Nobody ever paid the bond. It's still up. They're trying to take away my mom's car and stuff.
What do you mean it's still up?
Like, the bond still hasn't been fully paid. So they want to take away my mother's truck, her boyfriend's truck, and her car because he hasn't fully paid the bond.
Your Honor, that's what I've paid on the bond.
Yeah, but you still have a balance.
Of $320, yes, ma'am.
So why don't you pay it?
Well, I don't know if they put up their cars. I was in jail when all this happened.
What are you, an idiot?
Well, no, I didn't know that that's what they had to do.
You stopped paying on this, sir. You stopped paying on it in 2001.
Because I didn't have any money to pay the other $320.
Who do you live with?
I live by myself, or with my girlfriend.
But by yourself is not with your girlfriend. You got to tell the truth right away.
I live with my girlfriend.
Do you work?
Yes.
What kind of work do you do?
A construction worker.
Good. If you do construction work, your girlfriend works, I assume?
Yes.
This is the girlfriend?
Yes.
Then you have money to pay the bond. What do you mean you have no money to pay the bond? What are you, a fool?
Well, at that time, I didn't have the money to pay for it.
You have it now? What is wrong with you, sir? You have responsibility.
Yes, ma'am.
Your evidence cooked you goose. I almost believed you that you turned over your whole check to her. And then I see this piece of garbage where you give me a piece of paper that says that you had a responsibility to pay a bond, that you knew somebody else was obligated to pay, and that you pay $3, $5. You made one payment of 60 cents at one point.
I just had to pay something when I went in every week to report.
She could lose her property. What is wrong with you? What is wrong with you?
I don't believe there's any...
There's a lot wrong with you. He's a loser. He doesn't take care of his responsibilities. The attorney's fees, the bond, the fines, less the money he paid you, $1,108. Listen, it is your responsibility to take care of your debts.
Yes, ma'am.
You screw up, you're supposed to take care of it. Nobody else is supposed to take care of it. Do you understand?
Yes. And that's why...
Do you have a car?
No, ma'am, I don't.
Does she have a car?
Yes.
You put gas in her car?
Yes.
Do you put food in your mouth at least twice a day?
Yes.
Do you go to a bar occasionally, go out for dinner once in a while?
Yes.
You don't do anything until you take care of your responsibilities. If that's what you do,
Yes, ma'am.
then you take care of other things. Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
That's all. Lucky you got out of this marriage before you had children with him.
Exactly.
Very good. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I gave her a $1,200 income tax return. I felt that would have covered what her mother had to pay.
I never saw any check. I wish I'd have got a check, because if I'd have got the check, we wouldn't be here.
I don't know why all this come up until now. This happened a long time ago.
I think Judge Judy did a good job.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Harvey versus Hyatt. Step forward, please.
Student Tammy Harvey is suing her ex-boyfriend, mechanic Glenn Hyatt, for the cost of breast reconstruction surgery. Glenn says Tammy's surgery is not his responsibility.
Miss Harvey, the defendant is a former boyfriend of yours, and it is your claim that he promised to pay for some repair work on breast implants that you had while you were together. You've since broken up, and he refuses to pay for this reconstructive kind of surgery, which you have not yet had. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. Were you living together?
At one point.
When?
From March till December of the past year.
And you had breast augmentation surgery previously, is that
Yes.
right? When? How old were you?
27.
Okay. So when you were 27, you had breast augmentation surgery for the first time. Did you ever have any subsequent surgery?
Yes, I had problems.
What kind of problems did you have?
With the first set, I had hardening, which they took them out and put saline and silicone in, where they would enhance them gradually so it wouldn't build up the scar tissue.
And how
then
old were you when that happened?
all of this happened within 5 years. I had like 5 surgeries.
5?
Mm-hmm.
When you were 27, you had the first surgery. When did you have the next one?
Like the year after that.
Why?
After the hardening, they wanted to take out the bulbs that they used to put the saline in. And when he took the bulbs out, he wanted to just put in a new fresh set with the upgraded implants.
So that's when you were 28.
Right.
When did you have the next surgery?
It was a couple of weeks after that I developed a staph infection, and they removed the right breast implant, and then I went a year without an implant.
Without?
Right.
Miss Harvey, you went and had the implants put in again.
I had to, because the skin had stretched so much. The doctor said it wouldn't look normal if he hadn't put another implant in there to replace the...
So then you were 29?
Correct.
So now I have 4 surgeries. When was the 5th?
The year after that, after the staph infection, he put new saline implants in, and then they were fine for the next 8 years.
What happened 8 years later? So at that point, you're about 38.
Right. I started dating the defendant, and I was having some problems. They were hurting. We massaged them together, Glenn and I, and in an intimate moment, the right one, it ruptured. And it took some time before the saline came down. But over time, you know, it was obvious, and it made a real impression on my self-esteem and everything. And the defendant and I were engaged to be married, and we were getting his finances in order so we could be married. So I was taking care of the majority of the bills and helping him. And when it came time for me to have my surgery, because last summer we couldn't enjoy going to the pool and everything like that, that's when he took me to the doctor. I had 2 consultations, and the surgeries were between $6,400 and $6,700. At that time, the defendant did a quick at financing the surgery, but it was denied. And now, you know, I wanted to get this taken care of because it is noticeable, and I have pain because scar tissue builds up around the implant where it is because it's flat now, it's not smooth, and I have a lot of pain, and psychologically it's just hurting me, and he's backed away from his commitment to me.
Well, I didn't hear about a commitment.
We've talked over the 2 years about taking care of it.
As a couple?
As a couple.
When you were sharing expenses?
Correct.
You want to say anything, Mr. Hyde?
I just deny any responsibility for ever saying that I would pay for her surgery, and I had nothing to do with it, with her implant rupturing.
I have a quick app that he said he would pay for it, and I have the doctor's with a picture.
Okay, go ahead.
I filled out that application to help her get the money, you know, for financing her surgery. That's the only reason that I did it. It wasn't to say that I would pay for it.
I think that there is some truth somewhere in the middle of your 2 statements, and that is that it was contemplated that as a couple, since you were going to be pooling your money at some point if you got married, this would be a joint debt because you were filling out the credit application if you couldn't get credit, and you were to be a couple and move on, and this was just going to be one of the things that you had to pay off. Would that be a fair statement?
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Okay, so that's somewhere in the middle of he promised to pay for it and I didn't promise to pay for it. It was going to be a family debt. But you're no longer a family, Miss Harvey. That's your problem. There has to be a reason.
I put most of our debts for the past 2 years on my credit cards to help him get out of debt in the promise that we would be married. And I did have a promise he would pay for it. He's not telling the truth. He said he would pay for the surgery.
Oh, I think that it was a family obligation, that when you were together, you put the majority of your money to use paying off debt. That was a nice thing. However, that does not create a promise that he would take care of this for you. I have just a couple of questions, Mr. Height. How much do you think she paid off in debt for you over the short time that you were together?
I don't recall her ever paying anything off for me. We took some trips and went to eat and things like that on her credit card. But as far as her taking money and paying any of my financial responsibilities, monthly debts and bills, that never happened.
So what you're saying is that she relieved you of certain stress by paying for your entertainment and your vacations
expenses.
and some living expenses.
He lived free.
Did you pay rent when you were living together?
I did not pay rent. I paid the utilities.
Not always. I paid 7 out of 5 times for the utilities.
I mean, you paid 5 times out of 7 months.
No, he was
Can't
more.
pay 7 out of 5. That math doesn't work. Miss Harvey,
Yes.
the romance is over. It's sad that it's over. And I'm not going to give you any medical advice because I'm not a doctor, but it seems to me a substantial part of your late 20s, early 30s, and now beyond are involved in recuperating from surgery. Maybe you should just say, this was not meant to be.
The doctor said that I would have to have the surgery, and the implants needed to come out because of chance of infection, and that
do you have medical insurance?
No, I don't. They won't cover it because it's cosmetic.
Well, this isn't cosmetic if the doctor says it has to come out. For medical reasons, that chance of infection, then that's not a cosmetic reason.
They both
Ms.
denied my insurance.
Well, then I would appeal it, because if what you're saying to me is that you have medical proof that this is dangerous to your health, then your insurance should pay for it. They may not pay for the reconstructive part, but they certainly should pay for removing them. In any event, I find that no promise existed, no contract existed between the plaintiff and the defendant for him to assume the full responsibility of your surgery. And unfortunately, Ms. Harvey, I think you're going to have to assume the responsibility of this surgery yourself. Case is dismissed, that's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I don't think Glenn was truthful, and if he was, that I would have had the judgment.
I think that justice was served.
He did make promises, and that was one of the promises for him to help me, and now he doesn't want to.
I never made any of the promises or signed any contract stating that I would pay for the surgery.
It's been awful. I mean, my life's been upside down. I can't wear certain shirts. I have to cover myself up. I have pain.
And I wasn't responsible for the rupture of the implant.
I would just like to get on with my life.
If you want to continue a relationship with someone, then you shouldn't sue them.
It's not worth it.
20-year-old deli clerk Stephanie Bartos is suing her former friend, 22-year-old telecommunications salesman Moses Jones, for a series of unpaid loans.
Order. All rise. Now, this is case number 78 on the calendar in the matter of Bartos versus Jones. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Sir, have a seat.
Ms. Bartos, you and the defendant had been good friends for a very long time. How many years had you been good friends?
Between 4 to 5.
And you claim a series of loans to him.
Yes.
Mr. Jones, while acknowledging that you gave him some money, is that right, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
And while acknowledging that you purchased some things for him, said everything that you gave him were gifts, and that you're suing him for a reason that he's going to tell me later. So, when did you make the first loan to him?
February 28th of this year.
Under what circumstances?
That he was to pay me back as soon as possible.
Now, tell me what he said, what you said, what it was for, whether it was cash. Tell me what it was.
Okay, I received a settlement check for an automobile accident, and I picked him up from his home, and he said he had to get some clothes. We got the clothes, shoes, all that stuff, and he stepped outside and he asked me if I could pay for it. for him.
Is that what he said? Could you pay for this for me?
If I could do him a large favor,
Yeah.
and if I could pay for it for him.
Why did he want you to pay for it for him?
I do not know.
So what did
Obviously,
you say?
he didn't have money.
So what did you say to him?
I said, under the terms, you pay me back. He was my best friend.
Well, you didn't say to him, under the terms, you'll pay me back. That doesn't sound like something that comes out of your mouth, Ms. Bartow. So you have to be very careful about what you say to me, because I can usually tell the truth.
Okay.
Okay? He said, he stepped outside and he said, can you pay for this, or can you take care of this? He must have said, why? How do you go shopping without money? I mean, that would be normal, even with your best friend. So let's hear what transpired in February of '02. Well, he came outside and said, can you take care of this for me? And what did you say to him?
Sure.
You said, sure.
Under the terms that he was to pay me back, it was a loan. He said, could you loan this to me?
Now you gave me two different scenarios. You said, can you take care of this for me? Can you pay for this for me? And now you say, could you loan me the money to pay for this? Which one was it?
It was a loan. It was a loan.
I'm looking for the words, Miss Bartow, so you're not cooperating with me. You're looking to the end result. I am looking for the words that were exchanged. Are you following me?
Yes.
Maybe I'm not going to get the answer from you, so forget it. Mr. Jones, you remember February 28th of this year?
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me about the clothes shopping.
I had to get some new clothes. Stephanie was a good friend. She wanted to go with me, so we went down to the shop. I actually left my wallet at home that day. That's why I forgot, just running out, getting everything together. She was on her way.
So you left your wallet at home?
Yeah. That's why I asked
What
her.
was in your wallet?
My credit card.
So you
some
were
money.
intending to pay for the clothes with your credit card?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, go ahead.
You know, I went to look for my wallet to pay. Didn't have it on me. I said, Stephanie, can you pay for it? She said, sure. And that was that.
Well, did you mention to Stephanie, because you must have mentioned to Stephanie, can you pay for this for me? I left my wallet home.
Mm-hmm.
Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that your story?
Yes, ma'am.
Does that sound familiar to you?
No, it doesn't.
I want to tell you something. She is so fixed at getting her loan across that she's not paying attention. Maybe she just don't get it. But according to you, that's what happened, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, when was the second money that you gave him, madam?
March 8th.
Go ahead.
And he had phoned me a couple days prior. He said that he was in financial debt. He couldn't make rent. He didn't get his promotion through his job. And he asked me if he could borrow some more money. And he said that his only other means was to do something illegal. And I told him, I said, you have a 1-year-old son. You don't want to jeopardize that. And so he came up to my job on March 8th, and I loaned him $1,000 so he would not come up here to L.A. to do something illegal.
How much were his clothes?
A total of $445.47.
So tell me about the $1,000, sir.
I had talked to Stephanie a couple of days prior, and I told her that, you know, I was trying to get a couple of things moving quickly.
Well, I don't know what that means. You're
Well,
in the moving
I was
business?
trying to get a couple of, you know, things that I wanted, and I didn't get my promotion.
I don't understand what you mean. You're trying to get a couple of things that you wanted. What does that mean?
Like, I wanted to buy a new outfit. I wanted to get some stuff. I wanted to just buy some more stuff that I wanted personally for myself. You know, and then I got hit with having to take care of rent at the same time, and I didn't manage it correctly. I had told Stephanie what was going on within my life, and that I had a deal going down, which was not a very honest deal, but I had a deal going down that was roughly about $2,000. And she said, you know what, hey, you know, I'm your friend, I don't want you to do that, you know, I don't want you to put your life in jeopardy. You know, whenever you need something, you could call upon me. You know, I told her, I was like, hey, you know, I don't know when I'll be able to, you know, have this money again. I don't know what, you know.
No, what does that mean? I don't know
I'm
when
sorry.
I'll be able to
I'm
have
sorry.
this money again. What does that mean, Mr. Jones?
Yeah, I don't know when I'll
You don't
be
know
able to-
when you'll be able to pay her back. Is
Yeah,
that what
for
you
that.
meant? Is that what you said?
Yes, ma'am.
I don't know when I'll be able to pay you back.
Right.
And what did she say?
She said, don't worry about it. You know, you're my friend. Here you go. And she just wrote the check to me.
Okay. And what was the next amount of money that you claimed that you loaned to him, Miss Bartos?
We went the next week, we went to Tattoo Parlor, and he wanted to get a tattoo on his right upper arm with his son's name, and I paid for it under the pretenses he was to pay me back.
Okay, Miss Bartos, that I'm not even entertaining. The tattoo. Do you understand? If you're dumb enough
I'm not
to
dumb.
give, yes you are.
No.
If you're dumb enough to give him money for clothes, if you're dumb enough to give him $1,000 because you say he was going to be evicted, then you don't indulge him in paying for a tattoo with his son's name on it and expect to get paid. Not from me, because that's the height of stupidity.
But he was to pay me back with his income tax return.
I don't care what you say. I don't believe that. Who is this person?
My father.
Even your father understands that.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
The tattoo was already starting.
So what? What's your son's name?
Moses the Fifth.
So then you can have Mo.
And later today,
My tools.
I'm not interested in your tools that were in the car, sir. Mr. Green, do I look stupid to you?
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Stephanie Bartos says former friend Moses Jones owes for several unpaid loans. Moses says he never agreed to pay.
Somebody has already borrowed almost $1,500 from you because he needed it. The first thing he needed were clothes. The second thing he needed was money so that he wouldn't get evicted. Somebody who needs money so that they're not going to get evicted doesn't spend a couple of $100s to get a tattoo on his arm. And if you are not stupid, then you say to him, Mr. Jones, you have a lot of debt. You don't need a tattoo on your arm.
Well,
so I'm not paying for that, whether you say you're going to pay me back or not pay me back.
Well, initially I went there to get a tattoo on my back shoulder of my daughter's name. And he sat down and the tattoo was already started. He didn't have the money, so I went with his friend to go get the money. The tattoo was already starting.
So what? What's your son's name?
Moses the Fifth.
So then you can have Mo. You understand what I'm saying?
Order.
Okay. Shh. Then you find out, because you called him, and you find out that he got married. Is that right?
Yes.
Because that's his defense. He says, you're really mad about all these things because this very best friend of yours had gotten married 2 years before and didn't tell you. Right?
Mm-hmm.
How come you neglected to tell your very good friend that you got married, sir?
Well, that's a weird situation that happened.
That's not weird.
It is weird if I were to get into the details about it. But, you know, it was a situation that I wasn't very comfortable with, and I was in the process of a separation. That's why...
Well, you weren't separated at the time you got married.
No, I wasn't.
No.
But
So
when I got married, me and her weren't even really talking. There was a 2-year gap where we didn't even talk.
but then somebody picked up a phone, somebody met in the street and whatever, and you say, hi, how you doing? No, good. How are you doing? Anything happening? What's doing? Yes, I got married.
Right.
But you didn't say that.
No, because...
Did you say that? Did you tell her you were married when you took the $1,000 from her?
No, I was...
Were you living with your wife at the time?
No, I wasn't.
Yes, he was. Yes, he was. And I was there. I've gone there before.
All right, Ms. Bartos, despite yourself and in spite of yourself and your testimony, Mr. Jones has cooked his own goose because Mr. Jones testified that he was intending to pay for his... Stop smiling, it's irritating. Mr. Jones has indicated that he was intending to pay for these clothes, but for the event of the lost wallet or the left home wallet, he was going to pay for his clothes. So what, you keep shaking your head no. You're so thick and so fixed in your position that you're not paying attention.
I'm paying attention.
Then try to pay attention. Which indicates that he had intended to pay for his own clothes, which would have been very natural for him to say, I left my wallet home, could you cover this for me, and I'll pay you back. Not I left my wallet at home, so would you buy these clothes for me because I don't have my wallet, and I'm not going to pay you back. That's what he said, because he's not too swift. And as we come to the $1,000, I also believe, based upon his testimony, that he led you to believe that he was going to pay you back at some unspecified time. Because according to him, he said, I don't know when I can pay you back. And you said, that's all right. But the intention was to pay you back. And that's what you relied on. So I'm entering a judgment in your favor for those 2 loans. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,445. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
He lied to me. He had been married, never told.
Stacy Crawford says her boyfriend's friend, Scott Endicott, threw gasoline onto a campfire, causing her to be severely burned. Scott claims Stacy is partly to blame.
Miss Crawford, it's your claim that Mr. Endicott is responsible for you being severely burned. You want him to pay your medical bills that weren't covered by insurance, and in addition, a sum for the pain and suffering that you endured as a result of these burns. Mr. Endicott says that you were burned as a result of your own drunkenness. So tell me when this happened.
August 17th, night of August 17th, was laying next to, we were camping.
Who was camping?
Me, Mr. Endicott, my boyfriend Jeff, his 13-year-old daughter. I mean, there was a group of us and other children.
When had you gone camping?
I had gone August 17th, Friday.
When had you gone camping, Mr. Endicott?
I got there the same day.
And this was a pre-planned weekend, overnight, is that right?
Yeah.
Did you know each other before?
I had been introduced to him for my boyfriend one other time.
You two were friends?
Yes.
Okay. So tell me what happened.
The day was great. We were four-wheeling in the sand. The night started rolling on. Everybody was settling down by the campfire. There was some drinking, and I was only there for the night, so I didn't have a camping chair, so I laid down near the fire to feel the warmth and everything, and then all of a sudden, I went up in flames.
Did you witness what happened?
Yes.
Stand up, sir. Tell me your name.
Jeffrey Ablin.
Tell me what you observed on the 17th. Miss Crawford had fallen asleep around the fire.
Yes, we were.
Were you on a blanket?
No, I wasn't sleeping. I was just laying there.
We were just, everybody was around the fire.
How many people were around the fire?
I would say approximately there had to have been a good 10 people.
Did you know most of them?
Yes, I knew all of them.
Who had made the fire?
All of us together, all the guys went out to the, out onto the beach, and we towed back driftwood.
When you say all the guys, how many guys were there?
I would say there's probably a good 5 or 6 of us that went out there and gathered wood.
Including Mr. Endicott?
Yes.
Yeah. And how long had the fire been burning?
I would say it'd probably been going about 6 hours at least.
So it was late at night?
Yes, it was approximately about midnight, I would say, roughly.
Yeah, but the driftwood that we put on there, that the neglected can tell you, is that it was
You're
wet.
going to have your turn. Go ahead, sir.
So we were all just hanging out by the fire talking, and I didn't actually see Scott throw the gas on the fire, but what I seen was a huge flame and her burst into flames.
After you burst into flames, what happened?
I started rolling. Jeff and a couple of the other guys all kind of jumped on me, pounced out the fire, threw sand on me. They all picked me up at that point, took me to the hospital there in town, the ER. At that point, I was in shock. My skin was sloughing off my legs. I have pictures of that. I don't recall a whole lot after the next 24 hours.
When did you speak to Mr. Endicott?
I actually didn't speak to Mr. Endicott until Wednesday. He came over to my parents' house.
And what day of the week was this?
That's Friday night.
So Wednesday you spoke to Mr. Endicott, and did he call you?
No.
You called him?
No. We were going through Jeff at that point.
You spoke to him?
Yes.
So tell me about the conversation. Did you call him or did he call you?
I seen him face to face.
And tell me about the conversation.
I had asked him if he was going to go to the hospital and see her because she was burned.
And
he told me he didn't think it was his fault, so that he wasn't going to go there. He was going home.
Did he offer an explanation to you?
Yes, he was throwing fire. He was throwing fuel on the fire to get it going better. And
Is that what he said to you?
He did not see her. Yes.
Is that what you said to him?
Yes.
Now you can sit down. Now I'll see the pictures. You're a nurse?
CNA, going to school to be a nurse.
So you were not able to work because of the open wounds?
Correct.
Is that right?
I work in a hospital.
Okay. All right, Mr. Endicott, you certainly have seen these photographs?
Nope.
Okay, sir. Let's start on the 17th.
When I got there, there's a small campfire, and everybody was doing their drinking and stuff. And I was going back and forth from that campground to another campground.
When were you going back and forth between the two campgrounds?
Just through the course of the night. Because I got there around 7 o'clock, and from 7 to about 10, I was going back and forth. Because I had family in another campground. And around 10 o'clock, I came back out there, and that's when everybody decided I decided to stay out there.
At 10 o'clock?
Yeah, around 10 o'clock, I believe. And me and Jeff and some other people went out and got some more firewood, and we brought it back, and the firewood was damp, and so we had it all stacked up on there. And through the course of the evening, the fire hadn't really started on the wood, and another friend asked if we could pour some gas on the fire. And when I went and got the can, another friend was going to pour it out of a cup, and I just told him I'd pour it out of a can. And
So
by the
somebody
time,
was going to pour it out of a cup.
yeah,
What would be the reason for pouring it out of a cup instead of using a can?
I don't know. It just,
Well, try to think.
that's just the way he wanted to do it.
Would it...
No difference.
Don't pick your hand up. I don't need anything from you yet.
I mean, there wouldn't be any difference from pouring it out of a cup out of a can. I mean, the results probably would have been the same.
No, what I'm saying to you is if you're using a cup, I'm not a campfire girl myself. You may not have known that. But those people who know me know I believe in sleeping in a bed with running plumbing. So, but it would just seem to me that if you used a cup to pour liquid as, you could sort of gauge how much you were actually using, as opposed to using a can where you just go...
Out of the can, it came out of a can out of a hole that big.
I understand that, sir. So you decided to use the can?
Yeah.
Okay, and then what did you do?
When I was walking over to pour the gas on the fire, everybody that was awakened by the fire all moved away from the fire. So I thought it was safe to pour gas on the fire. She was on the other side of the fire, and the wood was stacked up pretty high, wearing dark clothes, and nobody could see her.
No, not nobody.
I couldn't see her.
So whose fault is that?
I think it's both of our fault, because...
Joe, tell me why you think it's both of your faults. Let us say that I believe you when you say she was, because I read your answer, that she was probably sleeping because she had had too much to drink. Let's say I buy that 100%. Explain to me why that's not your fault.
It is my fault for her getting burnt, but I don't feel financially responsible for it.
Well, why, if it's your fault for her getting burned, why aren't you financially responsible, Mr. Endicott?
Why isn't she responsible for her own actions?
What are her actions that caused her to get burned?
Being inebriated.
Yeah. So were you. So was everybody else that was there. They had been drinking all night. You had been drinking in between two campgrounds. You were all drinking. How does the fact that she was drinking, sleeping, make it her fault? Don't you get that? It's your fault. Let me give you an example, Mr. Endicott, of the lunacy of your position. Okay, sir? Pay careful attention to me. Let's say you're drunk and you get behind the wheel of a car, just like you pick up a can of gas while you're drunk, and you're driving along and you hit somebody who is sitting in their car in a no parking zone. They're sitting in their car, not moving. You're drunk in your car. You plow right into them. You think it's an argument in your defense that they're sitting in a no parking zone?
Not in that situation, but what if she...
Of course not.
What if she...
Of course not, because the fact, sir, that they are sitting in a no parking zone has absolutely nothing to do with the fact that you recklessly got behind the wheel of a car while drunk and drove that car into the parked car. Similarly, Mr. Endicott, the fact that you did not secure the area by walking around the perimeter of the fire to make sure nobody was there before you poured gasoline on it is your fault. Not her fault that the wood was piled too high so that you couldn't see over it, or it was dark, or that she chose to wear dark clothing when she was sleeping at the fire so you couldn't see her. If you had walked around the fire, you would have seen her, right?
Yeah,
You didn't. Whose fault is that?
I guess it's mine.
Ah, now we're getting closer to it. If it's your fault that she got burned because you were negligent and careless, you're responsible. Do you understand that? Just say yes, ma'am. Perfect. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $5,000. That's all. Step out.
Pamela Marr claims her ex-husband's girlfriend, Mary Palmucci, illegally titled a Chevy Cavalier in her name. Pamela says the car was supposed to be a gift to her daughter, Ashley.
Miss Marr, Miss Palmucci is the girlfriend of your ex-husband.
Yes.
Ex-husband?
Yep. Yes.
Better. According to your complaint, you and your ex-husband got together and decided to purchase a used car for your daughter.
Yes, Ashley.
And each of you was going to contribute $400 to the car.
Yes.
According to you, you gave your husband $400 to buy this car. The car somehow was registered in the name of Miss Palmucci.
Yes.
Your daughter drove the car for a period of time, and then, for whatever reason, Miss Palmucci took the car back.
Yes.
You want your $400 back.
Correct.
Miss Palmucci said it was always her car. Step up, sir. What's your last name?
Marr?
How long have you and your former wife been divorced?
About 4 or 5 years now.
And how long have you and Miss Palmucci been together?
About 7 years.
So I assume you and your wife were separated for a long time before you divorced.
Yes.
How old was your daughter when you left the house?
Like 13, 12, 13, like that.
How old?
10.
10?
They're not always good with dates. Whose idea was it to get this used car for your daughter?
It was my idea.
Where did you find the car?
My niece had it. She was selling the car.
Did your wife, former wife, give you $400 towards the car? Look at me.
It was my understanding that check that she gave me was for the work I did for her at her house a week prior to that. And I gave $200.
How much was the car?
The car altogether was $700.
Did you have a conversation with your former wife with regard to her contributing to the car?
The only conversation that we had was with my daughter and myself and Mary about the car. There was no verbal conversation about the car between me and my ex-wife.
Did you have a conversation with your father about the car? Step up. Tell me your first name.
Ashley.
Ashley, tell me about when you had this conversation with your father about the car.
Well, I was at work and he called and asked me if I wanted to discuss with my mother about getting the car from my cousin.
Well, what specifically did he say?
He said, do you think your mother would go half in buying a car for you? I said, yeah, she would. So I went home and talked to my mother about it, and she said, yeah, that's a good idea.
Did your father tell you how much the car was?
Yes.
How much did he say it was?
$700.
And did you tell your mother how much it was?
Yes.
Who did you give the money to?
My ex-husband.
When?
I gave it to him on July 28th.
Did you give it to him in check or cash?
Check.
How much did you give him?
$400.
Why did you give him $400?
Because I was told that the car was $800, and later on, after I had paid it, my daughter had said it was only $700.
Did you originally tell your mother it was $800?
I think I might have.
What date did you get the car?
July 31st.
July 30th.
And when was the car taken back from you?
August 21st.
Mr. Marr, you did have a discussion with your daughter about her mother going half for the car. Unless you're calling your daughter a liar. Are you calling your daughter a liar?
Me and Ashley discussed it. We didn't discuss anything with my ex-wife.
Are you telling me that you didn't say to your daughter you think your mom would go half with me on a used car for you?
No, it didn't take place, that conversation.
Really?
Yep.
Tell me the work that you did for your ex-wife that you thought she was paying you for.
I put a liner in the pool and a skimmer also.
Did you arrive at a price with her?
No, it wasn't. We didn't compromise the price.
Well, how much did you spend for the liner?
I didn't spend for anything. She bought the liner and I put it in. I installed it and the skimmer.
How long did it take you?
Half a day, about 4 or 5 hours.
So what you're telling me, Mr. Marr, is you want me to believe, sir, that you thought that this $400 was your labor in putting in the half a day?
Yeah, that I paid my brother-in-law with the other $200. Exactly.
Really?
Yeah.
Even though you had not come up with an amount with your wife for what the job was going to be?
No, since she doesn't make that much money, I was just happy with whatever she gave me, that's all.
Mr. Marr, you're full of baloney, sir. Absolutely, positively, 100% full of baloney. If something doesn't make sense in this world, Mr. Marr, it's not true. If something makes sense, it's usually true. What makes sense is you having a discussion with your daughter and saying you think your mom would go half with me on a car for you. and giving her an inflated amount of $800 because that would have covered the tags and the registration, whatever it was to get it on the road. And she going to her mother and saying, would you do that? And her mother said, sure. And her mother hands you a check for $400. You don't even ask what it's for. You ask, don't know. It's for the swimming pool. It's for the liner. It's for the work. It's for the, I don't know what this for. Thank you very much for the check. Then you register the car in your girlfriend's name. What happens to her $400 when you take back the car?
I didn't register the car.
She registered the car.
Because I wrote out the check for the $700, which I have, and I paid for everything else, including the insurance.
Then you got it, Miss Palmucci. He scammed you out of $400.
Who scammed me out of $400?
He did.
Really?
Yeah, he did.
Okay.
Because he got paid $400. So if you wrote out the entire check of $700 plus putting tags and registration on the car, then your boyfriend scammed you out of $400 because he got half of it from his ex-wife, which was supposed to pay
either
for
way,
the car.
the money comes out of a joint checking account, which him and I have, so he didn't scam me out of anything, because that's also where the check is deposited.
Yeah.
Into the account that we both have.
Let me see everything, please. I want to see all the paperwork, please. Going to resolve this right away. Why is this certificate of title all mangled?
Because she attempted to take it from my house and tore it in doing that.
Where's the car now?
In my driveway.
Who drives it?
Nobody right now.
Why not?
It's not registered and insured.
Does it still drive?
Yeah, it still drives.
There's nothing wrong with it.
Oh, good. You want to give him $350 for this car?
Sure.
Yes. Good, because that's all they paid for. They said they paid
In addition to the
$700.
insurance, the registration, the title, the amount that I had to have it towed in order to get the vehicle back.
Shouldn't have done that. Because
well,
you didn't get
the only
whole
other
story.
choice that I was given by the police department was that I should file a
You didn't
complaint
get the
of
whole
theft.
story, madam. The whole story was these two people have a child together. They decided to buy her a car. He's afraid to tell you that.
The conversation between him...
Try not to speak over me. You will not be successful. You got yourself in the middle of it, and you shouldn't have. But she's going to give you $350. You get the other $400 from him, because that's what she paid him for the car, and you're going to sign over the title to her right now.
I can't sign the title until after the other case goes to court.
What other case?
There's another case that's going to court on the 14th of November.
For what?
Her claim against him for assault.
Her claim against him for assault?
Here's the paperwork. You want to see that
Can I
too?
see it, please? This has nothing to do with the title to the car.
It does. It's in there. It says that she went there and that she attempted to get the title to the car.
I gotcha. I gotcha. We'll give you a copy of this tape. You take it, you show it, and you indicate to the judge who hears that case, if a judge is going to hear that case, that you were directed to, and you have agreed and acknowledged to follow my direction. You're going to sign this over to her, and she's going to give you $350. Byrd, have her sign it right now. You created a whole lot of trouble, Mr. Marr, by not being honest with the women in your life. Sign it.
Sell it.
You have now purchased the car yourself. Do you understand?
Yes.
She gets $350. Now she's whole because she's going to take his $400 because they have a joint bank account. You got it?
Yes.
Very good. Thank you very much. Goodbye.
Thank you.
James Elmore says his sister, Shauna Padilla, owes for loans to make her mortgage payments. Shauna is countersuing for damages to her property.
Mr. Elmore, the defendant is your sister.
Yes, ma'am.
And according to your complaint, you loaned her the money to make her mortgage payment for about a year.
Yes, ma'am. It was about 10 months, probably. Yes, ma'am.
And you loaned her that money with the understanding that if she did not pay you back, the title to the mobile home would be put in your name.
Yes, ma'am. Either or, some kind of assurance that I'd get something out of it.
And Ms. Padilla says that there was never an agreement that you paid her mortgage, but that was like rent because you were, in fact, living there. Now, explain to me how it came about that your sister and your mother were together in this mobile home.
Well, I moved to Mexico, and after I moved there, my sister had my mother move in with her. I was down there about 5.5 to 6 months. I came back in, like, July.
Where did you stay when you came back to work in July of 2004?
For the first, probably month and a half, I stayed at her trailer.
So from, let's say, July and August.
In August, I was in California, in San Francisco.
When in August?
The 1st of August, I got a job traveling, working in refineries.
So you spent 1 month with your sister and your mother?
Probably about that.
Is that about right?
I wasn't there during that timeout.
Who was there?
She was there, ma'am.
All right, so you say she was there. So you lived there for a month in July. When did you have this conversation with her about the mortgage?
I'd say it was in June. The end of June.
So before you moved in?
Yeah, I was still in Mexico before we had this conversation.
So in Mexico, she called you and said what?
That she's a couple of months behind on her payment. They're about to repossess it, and she moved my mom in with her, and I didn't want my mom to be, you know, stuck out because she didn't pay her bills.
So?
So I came back, and I got a job building swimming pools and started paying, you know. And she said that she wasn't working because she was waiting on a workman's comp thing to come through, which after a while, you
don't
know.
speak to him. At my stage in life, I can only hear one person talk at a time.
Yes,
Otherwise, I get confused.
But after a while, you know, waiting on her workman's comp or whatever to start up so she could pay her own bills, you know, it got kind of old. And she was quite a bit behind, about $1,100, I believe.
You were living in the trailer for the month of July.
Yes, ma'am.
So I would assume, at least for the month of July, you were going to pay some rent.
Yes, ma'am, but this month of July, I was paying the month of May's rent. You know, I was paying her back payment.
If you paid her the back payment for the month of May, how much did you pay for rent in July when you were living there?
Well, I never had a set payment, you know. I mean, I guess I would owe for that month of rent, you know, but...
I guess you might.
Yes, ma'am.
Because you were working, right?
But see, none of that... Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
You don't think that she should pay for a time when you were living there and not paying rent?
Yes, ma'am, but I was paying her bills too, evidently, because she was not working. She had no income coming in whatsoever.
How much in total did you pay towards this trailer?
Trailer and utilities.
Trailer.
Trailer, I don't really have an exact on just a trailer, but I would just send money orders, and whatever they put it on, that was that.
That was nice of you. I don't hear anything about a loan.
Yes, ma'am. That's what all this was a loan.
Well, that's what you're telling me, sir. That's not what they tell me.
Yes, ma'am. But I would not have come back, you know, to pay all her bills. I was living in motels this entire time.
Not in July.
No, I got that job in August.
Not in July.
Or the past 5 months.
Listen to me. Where have you been living the last 5 months?
A couple of months I was there. But then she got mad because of cell phone, so she told me to get out of her house. She ended up calling the police to have me removed.
Miss Padilla?
Yes, ma'am.
But anyway, my roommate here, he was having to loan me money because I was sending all my checks
I'm
in.
talking about the last 5 months, Mr. Elmore. Where were you living?
I've been living with him for the last month and a half. And a little while I had to live in a shed next door to the house, believe it or not. The night after she called the police, they made me leave and told me I couldn't come back. I stayed in the shed for about 3 weeks.
Mr. Elmore, you and I are not coming together on the same wavelength.
Yes, ma'am.
It's explained to me why you have a case of a loan.
Well, because
for all of those things.
I paid off her trailer payment. You know what I mean? Her trailer got paid for. And it all came from me, ma'am. Over $4,000 worth, and I was not living there.
Oh, Mr. Elmore.
I didn't have it separated.
Mr. Elmore.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you have an argument with your sister?
Yes, ma'am, we did.
What was the argument about, Mr. Elmore?
It started over the cell phone. She asked to borrow my cell phone, I wouldn't let her.
Why?
That just, I don't know.
You didn't feel like letting her?
Yes, ma'am.
So
no, I had no reason, but I just told her no. So
fine.
She told me to get out of her house, and I told her no. You know, I said, I paid all this. So she said it's in her name, and...
So she said it's in her name, get out of my house.
Yeah, exactly. I refused to leave. Well, she called the police.
And what happened when the police got there?
They made me leave. I left.
Is that when you filed this lawsuit?
It was a few days after that, when I was living in that shed. You know, I was watching the TV, and I just happened to see your show, and afterwards I called, you know.
What is your last name?
Elmore.
Miss Elmore, who do you live with now?
I live in the trailer with my daughter.
What about her?
She has moved into the trailer with me and my daughter. She lived there.
So that when I ask you a question, I expect you to give me a full answer. You live in the trailer with your daughter and this lady?
Yes.
Who
yes,
else lives there?
Just the three of us now.
Who pays the bills?
All three of us. Yes, ma'am.
Now, who was paying the bills, say, last July, August, September, October, November? Was your son paying the bills?
My son paid a lot. He did. I have never denied that, but I was paying too. It wasn't just Mike paying.
And your son contributed, according to him, some $4,000 over a 13-month period. Is that right?
Actually, it was more than that, but I've lost several receipts.
Now, Mr. Elmore,
yes, ma'am.
Would you be here today if it wasn't for this cell phone incident, sir?
Yes, ma'am. It had been going through my mind for a long time, you know, because I wanted my money back.
Well, you're not going to get all your money back, sir. You lived there for
I'm aware of that.
You lived there for 4 months.
Yes, ma'am. I'm aware of that.
Ma'am, he came back in March, and he did not leave again until the end of August, the last week of August.
No, ma'am.
March, April, May, June, July, so it's 6 months.
Not the last week of August. It was about the middle of August.
So the date on the last receipt I had was 5/5 of 05.
Just a
So
second.
that's May. That's not March, ma'am.
Just a second.
Yes, ma'am.
Are you saying your mother is a liar? She says you were there March, April, May, June, July, and part of August. So is what you're telling me that your mother is lying to me?
Yes, ma'am. I'm saying I was not there then.
Now, tell me, in March, he came back for how long?
It was about 2 weeks, I believe. And then he left out for the job. He never actually got to work on that job. He got sent back right after that.
And when did he come back?
I probably at the end of March.
So was he living in the trailer in April?
Yes, ma'am.
May?
Yes, ma'am.
June?
Yes, ma'am.
July?
Yes, ma'am.
And part of August?
No, ma'am,
Yes,
I was
ma'am.
not.
And part of August?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And the previous July he was there when he came back from Mexico?
Yes, ma'am.
For 1 month?
Yes.
Miss Judy, she says that I was there before then. Like I said, I got the date on the first receipt that I paid is 7/14 of 04. I was paying a May 15th bill because when she called me,
All right,
she was
listen
3
to me.
months back.
Listen to me, Mr. Elmore.
She got her dates confused, ma'am.
No, Mr. Elmore, listen to me carefully, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Your sister does not deny, nor will she deny to me today, that she called you and said, I've gotten behind in my bills.
I didn't call him, ma'am.
Or contacted him or whatever, and said, I need some help. She's not denying that you gave her some help because the mortgage was behind. What your family is saying to you is you lived there for a longer period than you've indicated to me today, not just a couple of days, which you say in your complaint, you know, that your employer pays for your motel and that's where you were living, that you were living there for a period of at least, according to both your mother, who I believe, and your sister, July, part of March, April, May, June, July, and part of August. So at least 6.5 months. And for that, living there for all of that time, you contributed $4,200. That's pretty reasonable. You have a roof over your head, you have gas, you have electric, you have food, you have whatever else it takes. And if you helped your family out for another 3.5 months, you don't come in here and bother me about that. What you're annoyed about is that your sister, for whatever reason, after you said she couldn't use your cell phone, told you to leave. So you got annoyed. And then you had nothing to do, so you went and watched me on television and said, aha! I'm going to go and file a small claims court case. Mr. Elmore,
Well,
Mr. Elmore, get a life. Case is dismissed.
I need your excuse. You may step out.
Excuse me. Excuse me. Excuse me.
I have a counterclaim.
It's dismissed.
Okay.
If he bothered you, annoyed you for a year, and you let him bother you and annoy you for the year, that makes you not too smart.
I moved out of the state to get
Very
away from him.
good. That's exactly what you should do.
Deborah Weatherford and her 14-year-old son, Trevor, are suing Trevor's former friend, 16-year-old Justin Townsend, during a slumber party.
You're his mother?
Yes, ma'am.
Sit down. You're his sister. You can stay seated. No, you... Right there. According to the complaints that I read, each of you, through your parents or guardian, suggests that the other assaulted him at a sleepover party you were having at somebody's house. Both of you claimed that you were injured?
Yes, ma'am.
And since the parents weren't there and the sister wasn't there, you're going to stand up on your own and tell me when this was and what happened.
Yes, ma'am.
I would suggest to you, if you think about lying, turn around and leave. If you think about stretching the truth, it will be a very unfortunate day for you. So I expect to hear from you nothing but the
Truth.
correct. What's your first name?
Trevor.
And yours?
Justin.
How long had you been friends?
A few years.
And tell me when this incident happened. Where were you, Trevor?
I was at my friend Austin's house.
How many people were there?
About 6.
Remember the date?
No, ma'am.
Do you remember the date?
No, ma'am.
Do you remember the month?
No.
I'm honestly not sure.
Did you have medical bills?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, if you had bills, then I bet you your mother remembers what date this happened. What date?
September 5th, 2007.
Where were Mr. Austin's parents?
They were back in their room.
And there was 6 people sleeping over?
Yes, ma'am. We were in the living room. We were all playing around. We were having a pillow fight, just playing around. And I decided I wanted to stop, so I sat down and was watching TV, and I was hitting the back of the head with the pillow, like, really hard. And I turned around and asked my friend who did it, and he said Justin. I assumed Justin Townsend.
You assumed it was him?
Yes,
You
ma'am.
didn't see him, did you? But somebody else said Justin. How many Justins were there?
2.
So you went over to this Justin, and what did you do?
I hit him with the pillow.
You hit him. What was he doing when you hit him?
He was sitting down.
So he wasn't doing anything?
No, ma'am.
Did you hit him in the face or in the back?
I wasn't paying attention to where I hit him. I just hit him with the pillow.
Did you hit him because you were angry?
Yes, ma'am.
So I assume you hit him as hard as you could.
Yes, ma'am.
Then what happened?
I turned around to walk off. I heard him say something, so I turned back around and I was hit in the face.
By whom?
By him.
And?
I was hit in the face and knocked back on my back. I got back up and went into the kitchen, and I saw blood, so I went back in there and grabbed a lamp and hit him with the lamp.
And?
After I hit him with the lamp, I walked back into the kitchen. He walked after me and asked me if I wanted to even out the other eye, and I grabbed a knife and told him if he came any closer, I would cut him, which
Yeah?
I understand was the wrong thing to do. And
The whole thing was the wrong thing for you to do.
yes,
You hit him first.
yes, ma'am.
Don't you get that?
Well, during...
What do you mean, well?
He was under the impression that it was Justin
I
Townsend.
don't
who
care
hit
what he
him.
was under the impression that it was Justin who hit him. It wasn't. Right?
No, ma'am.
So you made a mistake. You picked the wrong Justin.
Yes, ma'am.
And you hit him as hard as you could.
Yes, ma'am.
Because you were angry. And he got up and he hit you back.
Yes, ma'am.
And he gave you a black eye.
Yes, ma'am.
So you went into the kitchen, saw you were bleeding, came out, picked up a lamp, an object. So far you've been playing with feathers and fists. So you pick up a lamp and you hit him in the head. And then you went and got a knife. What is wrong with you?
Nothing's wrong with me.
I mean, why would you sue him? Your son did absolutely the wrong thing. Now you can stand up next to him. Your son, you can stand up next to your brother. Your son did absolutely the wrong thing.
Well, according to what the witnesses at the party told me...
Don't tell me what the witnesses told you, madam. That's hearsay.
Okay.
That's
well,
what your son says.
Okay.
Your son was there, not somebody that I can't question, because they're not here.
Okay, well then
Your
I
son
won't-
gave me the whole scenario. His words.
He did, and he hit Justin with a pillow, and Justin turned around and hit him on a chair, jumped and punched him in the face.
So what? Out of nowhere, for no reason, your son came up and, according to him, using all of his strength, because he was angry, hit him. For no reason. And he got punched back. And then your son went and got an instrument, a lamp, and hit him with the lamp.
Yes, ma'am.
And then he went and got a knife.
To defend himself, yes.
What do you mean to defend himself?
Because he had threatened that he was going to come back and punch even out his other eye. He didn't want any further more.
He hit him with a lamp.
Correct.
Mr. Townsend hit him one time in retaliation for him being hit. Your son hit him once with a pillow, hit him twice using a lamp, and then picked up a knife. You're lucky he wasn't arrested. So your complaint is dismissed. Now, were you injured?
Just slightly. I had a bruise from where he hit me with the lamp.
Where did he hit you with the lamp?
Hit me in my ribs in this area.
You owe him an apology. Do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
Say, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
I forgive you.
Is that sufficient?
Yes, ma'am.
Made a mistake, Mrs. Weatherford. Your son was the aggressor.
I didn't feel
Aggressors
that way.
sometimes get the worst of a fight. In this case, your son was very lucky. All he ended up with was a black eye. If he would have used the knife or used the lamp in a different place, it could have been a lot worse for him.
Ma'am, he ended up with a lot more than a black eye.
How many times did he get hit?
He got hit once, but he got hit very hard, and it wasn't with a pillow.
No, he got hit with a fist.
Yes, he did.
That's what he deserved.
I don't feel that.
Well, that's too bad what you feel. I'm telling you, legally, your son had no right because he picked the wrong Justin to hit him. He didn't inquire sufficiently.
That's your opinion.
No, that's the law.
Okay.
And if you want to continue to defend him, this isn't the last time you're going to be in court with him. You better learn to say, you made a mistake, dear. You're a big boy. How old are you?
14, ma'am.
14. And how tall are you?
6
6
foot.
feet,
Yeah.
right? Still growing. So you have to teach a child who's 14 years old. How much do you weigh?
220.
Who's 6 feet tall and weighs 220 pounds, that if he hits somebody, slams them with all of his might with a pillow, he can hurt them. Can knock out an eye, break something. Fortunately, that didn't happen. But when somebody who is, how much do you weigh?
120.
Who weighs 100 pounds less, punches him back and happens to connect, that's part of the risk. So you better teach him. Because right now, you're not teaching him anything. You're still making excuses for his behavior. Your case is dismissed.
Thank you.
You got an apology?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Good, that's all.
26-year-old Sarah Blount is suing her former friend, Felicia Ale, for losing her backpack. Sarah claims Felicia gave the backpack to a stranger.
Ms. Blount, you are suing the defendant for a backpack and its contents.
Yes, Your Honor.
Lots of expensive goodies in this backpack that you had left in her car.
Yes.
The defendant has a rather interesting defense, which I'm going to allow her to explain to Officer Byrd here, because he's going to be fascinated with the defense. How did you know each other?
We're acquaintances, former co-workers. We've known each other for about a year, and we had both been at the same festival.
What kind of festival was it?
It was a music festival.
When?
It was the weekend ending on Sunday, June 26th.
What were you doing there?
I was working. I have a second job. I was working for the brewery there, and so I'd been working every day and camping at night. And
the defendant, what were you doing there?
I was working for the promoter of the festival. I've worked for him for the past 3 years. I'm in charge of ticket sales, handling cash for the festival.
Good. So you saw each other there during the weekend, and
Yes.
according to what I read in your complaint, Ms. Blount, the defendant was going to give you a ride home.
Yes, she had offered on the last day, on Sunday, she said, "How are you getting home?" I said, "I'm not sure yet." I knew.
Where do you live?
We both live in Portland, maybe 45-minute drive from
where
the
festival was held?
Yes.
Okay. So she said, "How are you going to get home?"
Yes, and she said, "I'll give you a ride home. Here are my keys. Put your pack in my car." I want to emphasize before anything else that this pack was full of everything I needed for 4 days on cold nights in Oregon. I work at a camping outdoor store. It wasn't cheap, shoddy merchandise. It was very nice. It was several of the items were brand new.
Okay.
A little while later, it started raining. Felicia approached me, said, "You know what? I'm going to go home a little early. I can't give you a ride home." So I said, "Well, let me go out of your car now." She goes, "Oh, don't worry about it. At 5:30, we will meet." We made plans to meet on the road where the road forks on her way out en route to the exit.
And what time were you going to leave?
I was working that evening, so I wasn't leaving until later in the evening.
Okay, you were going to leave at 5:30.
I had approached Sarah in the beer garden where she was working and said that it was raining and I wasn't going to stay until the festival was over.
So you were leaving early. You were
So I was going to leave early. So I asked her what would be a good time to meet. We both agreed that 5:30 would be a good time. That was a few hours before the meeting time is when I had approached her.
Fine. So what happened?
So she said, "Let's meet where the road forks and we'll meet at my car. If I'm not there, go up to the parking lot," which I knew where that was because I had gone to put my pack in her car at the parking lot. So at 5:30 on the dot, I stopped what I was doing and I went to the road. I couldn't find her. I couldn't see where she was, so I went up to the parking lot. I couldn't see her car there. I'm looking for her car, which is a station wagon. It's a white wagon. I look up and down. I walk up and down the road for approximately 15 minutes, thinking, you know what? I have to get back to work. I don't see her. So I go back to work. I had no cell phone at the time because it was in the pack, and nobody's cell phone had any reception at the point, so I couldn't get a hold of her immediately. So I waited until I got another ride later that evening, and I called her, I think, 2 times, and didn't hear any response until the following morning.
Okay. What happened, Miss Hale?
I went to my car. I waited at my car till about 5:33 is when I got in my car. I got to the corner at 5:36 and waited for a few minutes, and I didn't see Sarah. So when I had gone to speak with her earlier at the beer garden, she had expressed to me that she needed her pack. So I didn't want to leave the festival with her backpack, knowing that she needed it. The place where I was a one-way out road, and I was blocking the exit to leave the festival, so I couldn't wait there. There happened to be a gentleman sitting in a chair who was a staff member. He had a staff shirt on, sitting in his chair, and I told him what was going on, that I was supposed to meet this woman to give her her backpack there. She wasn't there. Would it be all right if I left it with him? He was...
You hear those groans?
He was a staff member. He was a staff member. He was going to be there for the next hour and a half. She wasn't there. And she'd told me she needed her bag. I had no way of getting a hold of her, so I figured the best thing to do is to leave it in the exact spot where we're supposed to meet. It's a visible spot, and he was going to be there for the next hour and a half. I told him her name, who she worked for, and he said, does she know to meet you here? And I said, yes, but it's 5:36, and it's, you know, by this point I had been there a couple of minutes. There were cars behind me trying to leave, and I had to go.
Got it? Yeah. All right, can I say, I had no idea I was looking for a man, a stranger.
The law is pretty clear. You do not owe her extraordinary care in taking care of this backpack, which you gratuitously said you can put in my car. You owe her what I perceive to be ordinary care. The question is, did you exercise ordinary care in first waiting according to you, giving you every possible benefit of the doubt, 6 minutes beyond the 5:30, 6 minutes, not a half hour, not 40 minutes, not an hour, 6 minutes beyond which you claim she was late. That's giving you every benefit of the doubt. Let's say your watch might have been off a minute or two.
Okay.
Okay? Did you exercise ordinary care in turning this backpack over to someone that, despite the fact that you say he was a staff member because you didn't know, he didn't know her, he didn't know what she looked like, she didn't know him, you didn't get a telephone number, you didn't ask him for any identification, you could have said, listen, I want to give this to you, but you have your ID on it so I can take down your name and your phone number in case you don't hook up with us so that she can get in touch with you. Nothing. You take the backpack and you say, here, take it, give it to her. She's supposed to be at 5:30. She's not here at 5:30. It's no longer my responsibility. The law doesn't give you that right, Ms. Ale. The law says you have to exercise ordinary care. And unless you did that, unless you got this man's identification information, his telephone number, a place where he could be contacted so that in case that they couldn't get together, she would have some way of contacting him, not just a man who was wearing a shirt that indicated he worked there.
Well, I had no way of contacting her.
You did not exercise ordinary care. You added up the things in the backpack?
Yes.
What did it come to?
$978.
Can I see the bills, please?
Okay, I have receipts from my place of employment where
Can
I
I
bought
see
them.
it, please?
Your Honor, may I say something?
Yes.
The previous place where we both worked, we had special deals that we were able to purchase from there. We sold a lot of high-end camping items. We also returned a lot of them as well, and were able to resell those items. Employees were able to go to those sales for employees only the night before they were open to the public and purchase those items for extremely discountable prices.
I have claimed nothing
just a second
from those purchases.
So all that I want to say is that I don't know what was in the backpack. The backpack was put in my car. I took the backpack out of my car, but we were able to purchase items for an extremely discounted
And that's
rate.
irrelevant in this case because...
Well, just a second.
Okay.
It's not irrelevant if that's not what you paid for them.
Exactly.
Okay, and what you're testifying to under oath is that you paid $978 for these items. Is that what you're telling me?
Yes, and I have receipts for the biggest ticket items.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $978. That's all.
Ken and Cindy Slavin claim Navjot Singh owes for the refund of a miniature English bulldog. The Slavins claim the dog died en route to their home, and Navjot won't refund their money.
Mr. and Mrs. Slavin, you purchased a dog from the defendant, a dog that you saw advertised on the internet?
That's correct.
And you two live in two different states. Before the dog arrived at your home, it died. You want the return of your money, which you had sent to Mr. Singh prior to his putting the dog on a plane.
Yes.
Mr. Singh says it's not his responsibility, it's somebody else's responsibility. Right?
Correct.
Ah, okay. What kind of dog was this, Mr. Singh?
This was an English bulldog.
And how much did you charge the Slavins for this dog?
$3,600.
Why so expensive, sir?
It was a smaller version, and it's categorized under a miniature English bulldog.
Did you raise the dog?
I had him for maybe a year and a half, maybe.
That's not my question. Of course you had him. I assume that you didn't steal him. I asked you if you raised them.
Yes.
How old was the dog?
When what?
How old was the dog?
About almost 2 years old when I sold him. I have the specific date right
So
here.
if you
on the
have the
certificate.
dog for a year and a half, the dog was 6 months old when you got him.
Correct.
Why are you asking me? That sounds like a question, Mr. Singh. Is that correct, that the dog was 6 months old when you got him?
Correct.
Who did you get him from?
Veronica.
For how much?
$3,500.
Was she the breeder of this dog?
Yes.
When did you put this ad on the internet to sell the dog?
The dog was never, I guess maybe January.
The dog was never what?
I really didn't want to, you know, the dog wasn't heavily advertised. It was a litter from the dog that was advertised.
This was a female or a male?
This was a male dog.
And how many puppies were born from that litter?
4.
Is that a question or an answer?
It's an answer.
Let me see the ad, please. This is not an advertisement, Mr. Slavin, for the dog that you bought, and that was Monster.
Correct.
How did you come to buy Monster?
Well, I asked him about any of the pups, were any of them left, and he said they weren't. And then I proceeded to ask, did he have any older dogs for sale?
When did you correspond with him?
About the 25th of January.
Well, this ad is for May 14th, 2005.
That's correct. I had not printed off the original ad, but that was a copy, or one that's been updated, stating that Monster still is at stud. So, point being, either he sent me a different dog.
Just a second. How many monsters do you have, sir?
I have 1 monster. Gestation of a female dog is 63 days.
Correct.
Okay, after a female dog has her puppies.
Say anything else. You contacted him in January of 2005.
That's correct.
And he said he's left.
Correct.
And you decided to see if he would sell you Monster.
That's correct.
The 2-year-old male.
Correct.
So far correct?
Yes.
And you agreed on a price of?
$3,600.
Even though he was selling the puppies for $2,500.
Well, it sounded good. It says proven, had puppies before, so with the, it would be able to use it as a stud yourself.
Well, why would you want to use this dog? Were you buying it as a pet, or were you buying it to breed?
Buying it to breed. We had 2 females.
Are these miniatures?
Yes.
Now, do you have a contract with him?
No, ma'am.
When you're a breeder, you usually have contracts.
We're from the country, and every man's word should amount to what his word is, but I know that's old-fashioned.
Let me see the vet report that you have while I'm taking the rest of this testimony. Okay. Now, according to you, you put the dog on a plane.
Yes, I did.
Let me see.
And also, this is the receipt. Basically, I was called and just told to drop the dog off at this particular site at this time and this date by the Slavins. And this is the receipt that says that transportation was prepaid for, so meaning I did not have anything to do with Delta
Who
Airlines.
paid for the transportation?
They did. I didn't do anything
Okay.
with airline.
Fine. Correct. You took care of the transportation.
No, I just gave him $3,600, and he took care of it.
If you see right there, it's checked off prepaid, Your Honor.
It does, but it doesn't say it was prepaid by. Well, that's really not the issue, Mr. Singh. The real issue is whether A, you sent a sick dog, and B, more interestingly to me, how can you send a dog that clearly everybody acknowledges did not arrive alive and still advertise Monster for stud 5 months later?
I've been breeding dogs as a hobby for a while. Initially, I lived in Fresno, California. Now I'm a dental student here in Los Angeles. And basically how it works is first a female dog goes into heat every 6 months. After she's been in heat for every 6 months, you breed her, and then 63 days is gestation, meaning the dog mother carries the puppies in her stomach.
I know what 63
After
days
that,
gestation means. I went to high school.
4 months after that, you have to keep the puppy with the mother. I bred Monster before I sold him. That's why I was advertising him as the father of these puppies.
Your Honor, he's advertising that as current stud, meaning it's alive, it's current.
Both of the parents are, well, that's misleading. Both of the parents, Monster and Pup Girl, are very lightweight and especially short. Well, that's not true.
How's that not true?
Well, because Monster isn't a present. Both of these parents, Monster and Pup, Monster, who was very lightweight and short, and Pup, who I assume is still alive, is very lightweight and short. Monster was, not is. You know what the difference between was and is?
I do. I went to high school.
Oh, okay. So if you went to high school, Mr. Singh, you know. Both of the parents, Monster and Pup. Monster was a lightweight dog. He is no longer. So you can't say they are, because he isn't an are, he is a was.
But at the time the puppies were bred?
Doesn't make any difference. This is as of 7/4. You're advertising this, sir. As of 7/4, Monster is no longer alive.
And the website hasn't been updated for a while either.
That's misleading. Then it's misleading, Mr. Singh. Now, did you sell these puppies?
Yes.
Really?
They're
You have the names of the people you sold them to?
I do.
Did you tell the people that Monster was dead?
Yes. I told him he had been sold. I told him I did not
That's
have...
not what I asked you, whether you told him he had been sold. I said, did you tell the people that bought the puppies that Monster was dead?
Correct, I did.
You did. I don't believe that, Mr. Singh.
We can have them come in.
I could, or I could just rely on my own common sense and your response to me, sir.
Okay.
That you didn't say to people who were going to spend $2,500 for a dog that the stud died.
But the death wasn't my responsibility of the dog.
Oh, I'm going to make that assessment right now, Mr. Singh.
Okay.
When did you put this dog on the plane, Mr. Singh?
2/15/05.
Well, you took the dog to the vet on 2/14.
Correct.
This dog was not a well dog when you put him on the plane, sir.
How was it not well?
You want me to tell you what he wrote in his notes about the dog?
She, yes, go ahead.
She. What I can read.
Wait, did you get those notes from the veterinary themselves, or?
Yes.
Can I take a look at that?
Sure.
These notes on the dog, the veterinary knew this is an English bulldog, so basically she's making notes in regardless of a regular dog, but this is actually an English bulldog, so brachiocardial sounds are normal, and having a high temperature are normal with English bulldogs. In that, they're so normal that Delta has a specific policy for shipping snub-nosed dogs.
Mr. Singh, are you playing with me, sir?
No, I'm just trying to state my side.
The vet says that the dog looks like it's been chewing on its rump as well. It has very long toenails, which indicates that it has not been well cared for. I also have dogs. Green mucosoid discharge. I'm not talking about the sounds from your English bulldog, because we all know, I mean, if you're a dog lover, you know different breeds. English bulldogs have very small noses so that they breathe, they snort, they make noise. I'm not talking about that. Your vet said that the client, that was you, declined a microscopic examination, declined to have the dog's ears cleaned, declined medication, declined nail trim. He said that the dog will be traveling because the dog is a Valentine's Day gift for a friend. That's what you told, that's what the vet said you told the vet. And the vet says, underlined, see vet as soon as possible at new placement for infection. Okay? Told no food in the morning of the flight. Airline may decline boarding with eye skin infections.
Eye and skin infections are very common for English
Listen
bulldogs.
to me, sir. Listen to me, sir. You did the wrong thing. When somebody pays you a substantial amount of money and you have a dog that the vet says needs some treatment, you are supposed to ensure that before you put this dog on a plane, this dog, bill of health, not just sufficient to travel, clean bill of health. And you didn't do that. I wouldn't buy a dog from you, sir. I would suggest that if any of the 10 million people who watch this program thinking about buying a dog, they will never buy a dog from you because you haven't done the right thing. When you take on the responsibility of being a dog breeder and you have an animal that requires a human being to take them to the doctor and make sure that they're taken care of, you're going to be a dentist, sir?
Yes.
Is that what you're telling me? You're going to be a dentist?
Yes.
When somebody has a child and the child has something wrong with their mouth, the parent has the responsibility of bringing the child to the dentist. And you have the responsibility of, as the dentist, of taking care of whatever it is that that child needs, because the child can't do it for themselves. You got my drift, Mr. Singh?
I do.
A small miniature English bulldog, 2 years old, if it's got mucus coming out of their eyes, mucus coming out of the nose, seems to have a trouble with biting its skin. And the vet says, you know, the dog could really be treated before you put it on a plane and send it to a new home. And you say, not necessary. As long as it's not an extremis, you give me a health certificate because it's good enough to go on a plane. This vet was not happy with the way this dog looked. And you should have seen to it that that dog was in tip-top shape before sending it off to new owners. That's what you do if you're a responsible, caring individual. So not only wouldn't I go to buy a dog from you, sir, I wouldn't let you fill my worst cavity. Because what you did was the wrong thing. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $3,600. That's all.
25-year-old Anna Highmark is suing her ex-boyfriend, Eddie Rigsby Jr., for the return of her belongings. Anna says Eddie threw her out of their apartment and then disposed of her property.
Ms. Highmark, what was your relationship with the defendant when you moved in with him?
We were friends. At that point, there was no other involvement.
According to what I'm reading between the lines, you moved in with him and relocated from one jurisdiction to another.
Correct.
And you traveled with a child.
Correct.
How old is your child?
She's 6.
Where had you been living?
In South Dakota, in Madison.
And where did you move to, sir?
Quad Cities, Illinois.
Who did you know in Illinois?
I knew nobody, but my apartment had flooded, and I had to move either way, and I disliked South Dakota tremendously. And
who lives in South Dakota?
All of my family.
So you were going to Illinois with a 6-year-old child, with someone with whom you were no longer romantically involved, just a friend, leaving your entire family and support system there. Did you have a job?
Within a week of moving to Illinois.
You found the job?
Yes.
What were you doing?
Working at the Army base.
Are you still there?
No, that was a temporary job. I've worked a series of temporary jobs since then.
Are you still in Illinois?
I'm in Iowa, across the border.
Who were you living with?
A friend.
Male friend or female friend?
Male.
When did you meet him?
When I moved to Illinois, about 3 weeks after.
And your daughter? Where's her father?
Her father is in South Dakota still.
Who's this?
This is my daughter's grandmother.
Her father's mother?
Yes.
Is your claim that when you moved with Mr. Rigsby to Illinois, you moved into his apartment and they threw you out of the apartment and discarded your property?
My claim is that we got an apartment together where I was going to stay for about 2 months.
Was there a lease on the apartment?
In his name.
So then you didn't get an apartment together. He got an apartment.
With my money as well.
So what happened?
The day we arrived in Illinois, he began threatening me, saying he was going to have random women come over and beat me up, and when I was at work, he was going to throw my things out on the street, and a variety of things like that. And he got into my jewelry box a number of times, and 3 days in a row, I called and politely asked him not to dig in my jewelry box anymore.
Where did you call him?
On his cell phone, which I had gotten for him.
Why didn't you have this discussion when he came home? Was he not staying at home?
No, he wasn't.
When did he stop staying in his apartment?
The day he got it.
Why?
Because we didn't get along.
Where was he living?
Random women's apartments.
Who paid the rent?
It was split 50-50. There was 2 months free rent. There was a $450 deposit. I put down $200 on the deposit, and he put down $250.
So the first 2 months that you were there was no rent?
I was only there for 26 days.
So what you're telling me is you paid $200 to live there for 26 days?
Correct.
Okay. When did you come home and take her stuff and put it out at the curb, sir?
She was there for about a month. It was 2 days before the month was up. I put it on the curb. It wasn't on the curb. It was in front of the door. And this was like, I put most of it out there.
You told me curb. You wrote curb,
I meant,
sir.
Well, door, I meant.
Well, tell me the circumstances surrounding
after,
you doing
let's see,
that.
I put all the little stuff out first. Hope she'd come back because I didn't want to put the TV. She had a little 1980s TV and a little bamboo chair, and I didn't want to put it out there because I didn't want to steal it. A month and a half goes by, she still hasn't been there.
Are you telling me that she left the apartment?
She called the cops on me. After the month was up, I told her she stayed there 1 month. I said, you have to get your own place. My landlord didn't even want her there. She hit my garage. She almost hit my landlord driving around.
A month is gone. And what happened?
I told her she had to go.
So did she leave?
Yeah, she called the cops on me.
She called the cops on you?
He said I was an intruder in my own home.
Okay. After the police arrived, what happened, Miss Highmark?
They said that there was no reason to arrest him.
There wasn't.
Besides his threatening me and bringing over people saying they were going to beat me up and taking
Miss Highmark, get over it. I don't believe you, period. Keep going. So you called the police,
I called
and the police said the lease to the apartment is in his name. They're not going to put him out. And what did you do?
I said I need a safe place to go. and they put me in a domestic violence shelter.
Perfect. So you left that night?
Yes.
When did you come back for your things?
Every day for the next month and a half.
Tell me how you went back.
I went back looking for his vehicle. His vehicle was not there, he was not there. So I left the note on his door saying I would be there the following Sunday at 2 p.m. I showed up and he was not there. So I went over there consistently every day looking for his vehicle until finally one day I did find his vehicle there and called the police and had them knock on the door and ask if I could retrieve my belongings. And he said he no longer had them, although they were visible behind him.
What was visible behind him? A pot, you said?
There's crock pot, knife blocks, some dishes.
You mean you saw that from the door where you were standing?
What was in the kitchen I could see, because it was the kitchen door.
Okay.
This is the list right here of items.
Let me take a look at it.
Those are the list of things that I was not able to retrieve.
Where's her cat?
You didn't
take your cat?
I was going to a domestic violence shelter. I was not able to.
Did you see her cat?
No. That cat ran around outside all the time, and that cat was never around. She lost that cat the first 2 weeks she was there. She couldn't find it. I don't have no cat in a fight.
The cat was still there. The next day when I returned, the only belongings that he had put out on the curb were the empty litter box with the scoop and the cat food and a folder of papers.
So yeah, so if I got a cat that's running around doing this thing all over my house.
Maybe worth $1,000. Maybe, if I believe it's all there. $5,000 never happened. Discard her stuff. You can't put it out. Do you understand?
See, this is the thing. She knew I worked during the day. She knew when to come and get her stuff. I work anywhere from 8 to 12 hours a day. She knows, come at night.
Listen to me. You go to a local police precinct and you say, listen, this is what I have. I have all this junk, because all this is...
Junk.
Junk.
Yeah.
But it's her junk. It's not your junk. So you don't have the right to throw out her junk. You understand that?
I understand.
It's annoying. She was annoying. I get it. But you have no right to dump her stuff. You have to preserve it for a reasonable period of time, considering the fact that she was removed from the house with her child, limited window of time. So you have to take reasonable care, especially since she did pay $200 towards the rent, right?
Yeah.
None of this stuff is worth, according to you, $6,574. Not on a great day is this.
I don't know what she's got up there,
$6,000.
but what she left was a 1980s TV, a piece of junk bamboo chair, some CDs, and a crock pot.
What'd you do with her CDs?
All that stuff was gone. I don't even listen to the CDs. Not even the type of music I listen to.
Fine. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,000. That's all. Step out.
Linda Banks is suing her neighbor, Herbert Robertson, for accidentally shooting out her windows with a BB gun. Herbert claims he's a better shot than that.
Miss Banks, Mr. Robertson is your neighbor, and it is your claim that he shot out some windows in your home with a BB gun.
Yes, ma'am.
And Mr. Robertson, while he acknowledges the fact that he was shooting his BB gun, said that, A, it's impossible for the gun to have pierced the windows of your house, because it would have to go through a bunch of trees, and B, it would be impossible anyway because he's a very good shot. And he was shooting at squirrels, and he knows that because he's such a good shot, he would not have missed and damaged your property. Those are your two defenses. Is that right, sir?
Pretty much.
Tell me where I'm wrong. I like to know where I'm wrong.
Well, yeah, I might miss on occasion.
Oh.
But, like I said, we're in front of the big tree, so...
Okay. Miss Banks, have you had any trouble with Mr. Robertson before?
Yes, I have.
With what?
About 5 years ago.
Stop playing with that, please. It's distracting me, and at my age, nothing should distract me when I'm trying to work. Yes.
Approximately 5 years ago, Your Honor, he installed a pool improperly in his backyard, and that pool ruptured, and the water came down my backyard because he lives here and I live here, and approximately 19,000 gallons of water came into my basement. And what I did was I asked him to come over to survey the damage. He did, and his comment was that it wasn't that bad. But because we're neighbors and I tried to handle it civilly, I settled with his insurance company for $1,200, and there was a lot more damage than that, let alone the time. And I asked him to just help me clean it up, and he refused to do that. This time, when I discovered the damage, I said I wasn't going to let it go.
Since the incident 5 years ago, I assume that the relationship between the two of you has been strained.
Yes.
What date were you shooting at squirrels, Mr. Robertson, when Miss Banks came over and told you you had damaged her windows?
Oh, she never did.
Who did?
I did. This guy. I mean, I was out in the backyard one day, and he hollers at me and says, you know, you shot my garage window. I said, well, I don't know if I did, but if I did, I'll replace it. He says, don't worry about it. I just wanted you to know about it. And so ever since then, we quit shooting the BB guns.
Well, when was this, sir, that you told him he shot out the window?
It was the 3rd week of July. His son was out shooting and actually shot over top of my head.
How old is your son?
16.
Don't you know that you could hurt somebody with a BB gun?
If you hit somebody, it'd probably sting.
Well, if you hit him in the eye, it could blind him.
Probably could.
If you hit him in the ear, it could make him go deaf.
Probably could.
So why do you do it?
I didn't.
No, why do you let your son play with a BB gun?
Well, you know, I imagine there's probably 40, 50 kids in that neighborhood got BB guns.
I don't give a rat's behind about 40 or 50 kids. I'm asking you, why do you let your son shoot a BB gun?
Because I don't see anything wrong with it. It's my yard. If he wants to shoot a pop can or something in the backyard, you know, that's no problem. You know, this guy's saying he got one shot over his head. I doubt it. How would you know?
Because you can hear it coming through the...
You can't hear a BB.
Mr. Robertson.
Yeah, it's like, might I say something?
Yes.
I mean, it's like we're talking about the swimming pool. You know, 19,000 gallons of water didn't go in her basement. You know, I did go and survey the damage. It didn't look that bad.
Went into her basement?
My insurance company took it.
When I'm speaking, you see, you may be able... Is this your wife?
Yeah.
You may be able to interrupt her. Don't interrupt me.
No, I was speaking.
No. But when I start to speak, Mr. Robertson, you have to stop. That's the,
All right.
that's the way we play here in
Okay.
my playpen.
That's fine.
Good. Can I see the damage to your house, please?
Yes, ma'am. I have police reports as well, if you would like to see those.
I would.
And then also I've included estimates.
Good. How many windows?
3 windows, and then the truck windshield.
Well, either you or your son have lousy aim, sir.
Would you mind asking this man if he did agree, you know, that I told him I'd take care of the window, and he said, don't worry about it, I just wanted you to be aware of it? Because after that date, we never shot anymore.
When you first...
Shh, don't answer him.
It's like rock damage to me. No BB did that.
Yes.
Judge Judy, I would like to add, originally, the first incident he did offer to pay. The second incident was August the 11th, the date of the police report.
And on the second incident, how many windows were shot out?
That's when we discovered the damage of the second additional, the bedroom window, and then the truck window.
Got it. Still have the BB gun, Mr. Robertson?
Yeah.
Still let your son use it?
Like I said, nobody shot it since he said I shot his garage window out.
Well, you don't know that, sir. You do work, don't you? You do
No,
work.
I don't.
You don't work?
No.
Why not?
I'm disabled.
What's the nature of your disability?
Back. I've
You have
had
a bad
5 back
back.
surgeries.
Really? How can you shoot a BB gun with a bad back?
A BB gun?
Yeah, how can you pick up a BB gun?
Well, how much do you think it weighs?
It's kind of hard to shoot. Well, incapacitating. Seems to be if you could do this, you could sit at a desk and answer a phone.
Well, I'm just saying, I offered to pay for it. He said, don't worry about it. And that was the end of the shooting.
He doesn't
after
want
that.
you to know. Listen to me. He doesn't want you to worry about it. He wants you to pay for it. There's a difference.
I offered to pay for it.
Good.
Ask my wife.
Oh, I won't. She has to go home with you.
For
that, she has
well, you
my
done made
sincere
your mind up.
condolences.
And like I said, you know, I thought you were innocent until you're proven guilty.
That's what we just did.
No, you didn't.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,200. Thank you. That's all.
Don't
Thank you.
17-year-old Tomas Plancarte Benson says former friend Daniel Tingen cheated him out of $200. Daniel claims he and Tomas were partners in a bank scam.
Mrs. Benson, this is your son, Mr. and Mrs. Naylor, your son, and it is your claim, Miss Benson, that the defendant's son defrauded your son out of a couple of $100.
That's correct.
By some sort of scam with your son's ATM card. Mr. and Mrs. Naylor say that this was not a scam by their son, but sort of a thing that both boys did because they wanted some money, and your son is just not prepared to fess up that he was complicit in this little scam. So he's blamed their son.
Okay.
So why don't the parents sit down for a second, because they weren't there, they don't know what happened. The only 2 people that know what happened are these 2 people who were standing in front of me. Your first name is what?
Tomas.
And yours?
Daniel.
Daniel, how long have you and Tomas been friends?
For a couple of years now.
So why don't you tell me, Tomas, your version of what happened and when it happened?
All right.
This situation all started on January 23rd of this year when I had lent Mr. Tingen $40 from my own bank account.
Where were you when he asked you for the money?
I was at home.
And where was the money?
It was in my bank account.
And where was he?
At his house, I presume, yeah.
Well, how did he contact you, sir?
Yeah, he called me. He had called me from his house.
And said what?
And said he needed 20 bucks. The first time. There's 2 transactions here. One earlier in the evening and then one later. And
Look at me, sir.
I'm trying to collect myself. I'm very nervous.
He called you once and said, I need 20 bucks, not 40.
It's 40. He asked me for 40 altogether. The first time he said he needed money for...
Mr. Benson, you're tripping all over yourself, sir. You're tripping. Look at me. You're tripping all over yourself, Tomas.
I'm very sorry. I'm very nervous.
Get unnervous, Mr. Benson.
It's very hard. Sorry.
He called you in your house on January 23rd and said, I need...
$20 first.
Okay. And you said...
Okay. I didn't ask him what he needed it for.
I didn't ask you. And then what did you do? Did you say, I'll meet you at my bank? Come over.
Yeah. I said I'd meet him halfway there. Like, there's a street that we meet at, and then we head to my bank.
So you went to your bank on January 23rd and took out $20.
Yeah, just $20 first.
And you gave it to him?
Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead.
And then he called me later that evening and
Just a minute. Then he went home and you went home?
Yeah. And we went home.
Go ahead.
And then he called me later that evening saying he needed another $20. And so I said, all right, but that's kind of a lot of money that I'm lending to you. Could you pay me interest on it or something? And he agreed $10 interest, which would make it $50. And that was our agreement. And the way he was going to pay me back was getting a check from his grandma with an amount of $250 later that week. He was supposed to be getting this check. So then we agreed that I would cash this check through my bank. Then afterwards, I waited till for...
Look at me. Don't look there.
I'm sorry. So then I was going to wait for a call from him. And then I finally got the call on February 2nd, Wednesday. And he said that he finally got his check from his grandma. And we'd met up. And we headed to my bank. And I looked at the check. And it was in the amount of $250. I signed my name to pay to the order of Tomas Benson. I have all this right here. I have all this evidence.
I didn't ask you for anything. I asked you to tell me the story.
All right, we headed to my bank. I had looked at the check, seen that it was in the right amount.
You told me about that already.
Yeah, and then I put it in the envelope, put it on the ledge, grabbed my wallet to get my bank card out to the bank, put it in the machine, typed in the amount, $250 deposit, and sometime between that time, I believe that he had switched the envelope. He had took an envelope with the check in it, and he...
Don't tell me what you believe, sir. I'm not interested what you believe.
But, yeah, I put it on the ledge. I typed in that I would deposit it.
You told me that already.
Yeah, I know. I'm telling you.
Don't tell me again. I have a very good memory.
Then I put the envelope into the bank, and then I withdrew $200 from my own account, and I gave it to him then because I thought the $50 was supposed to be mine, and then I'd give him $200 out of my own bank to make it even. And then afterwards, we just parted ways.
Subsequently, you advised that they had no envelope, they had no check, they had no nothing, and your bank account became overdrawn. Is that right?
No, I had money in my account.
Okay, but you were advised then that the account never was credited with $250 in that check. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So you thought that was a big scam. Mr. Benson, after you gave him the $200 in cash, where did you go?
Back to my house.
Where did he go?
I'm not very sure.
Okay, go. Let's start with January 23rd with the two $20 bills.
That's not true. He never loaned me $20 two times. That's not true at all.
I have statements here.
You don't have a bank statement showing that you lent him $20 twice? You have a bank statement that they withdrew $20?
2 withdrawals for the amount of $20.
So what? He says you never lent him any money.
Well,
That's
I can show you my bank statements here. They show there's 2 transactions on that day.
I believe that there were 2 transactions on that day, sir. But you have no proof. I believe that there were 2 transactions on January 23rd. There is absolutely nothing to suggest that those 2 transactions had anything to do with him, other than your testimony. Is that right? Is that right?
I guess, yes.
Good. Go ahead.
Okay, on January 27th, when he did pull up the $200, we both split the $200 with that. I was supposed to, in interest, I was supposed to give him $50 later for it.
Just a second. You're getting ahead of yourself, Daniel. On the 27th, what happened?
Okay, me and Thomas met up. We had an idea. We were going to go deposit a slip with no check in it. We both knew what we were doing.
Just a second. On the 27th, you were going to deposit a slip.
Yes.
Just a deposit slip.
Yes.
Whose idea was this?
It was both of ours.
So you were going to put in just a deposit slip with no check.
Yes.
Draw out $200, but you would owe him $150. $50 of that was interest.
Yes. Which I would have to pay later.
What made you and the defendant get together with this little scheme?
Because we wanted money to go out and party that night.
What night?
That night that we did it. I'm not quite sure what day it was, February 2nd, I guess.
Did you go out afterwards?
Yes.
The two of you?
Yes.
Where did you go?
Just to people's houses and stuff.
Well, what'd you need money for?
To buy stuff.
Drugs?
Go out and party. No, not drugs.
What?
Alcohol.
Did you go to mutual friends' houses? Look at me! Did you go to mutual friends' houses?
Yes and no.
What do you mean yes and no?
Well, I didn't know some of the people. We went over to somebody else's house I didn't know. We went over to one of my buddies' house that we both knew.
What's his name?
Josh.
Your Honor, I was barred from the premises of Cherry Park Apartments, so I could not go over to Joshua's house.
Why were you barred from there?
Because of an incident with my brother.
No. He got kicked out because they found out that he was dealing.
Dealing what?
Drugs.
No, I had actually been barred because I had a fight with my older brother who also lived in the apartments.
Tomas, if something doesn't make sense, it's usually not true.
What is it that doesn't make sense?
Your slick story. Now, Daniel, at first when this scam was discovered, what did you tell your parents?
I didn't tell them anything about it at first. I just thought that the less they knew, the better, I guess, at the time. I know I did something wrong. I didn't really want to fess up to it at the time, but now I think it's the right time. I shouldn't be blamed for everything. We did it 50-50. I'm admitting that we both did it and it was wrong, but I don't want to be the only one to blame.
Okay.
And another thing here.
Is that a police report?
Oh, yes, it is.
Can I see it, please?
And here's the case suit, which here, I'll show you both of them.
Miss Benson, is your son on probation?
No, he's not.
Had he been?
No.
You hesitated there for a moment.
He is going to LifeWorks program that he's going because he had a drug and alcohol problem.
When did he start it? You can stand up now.
He started, I think, in January of this year, I believe it was.
Miss Benson, when did you find out about this money?
Right after the incident happened.
Well, tell me about how you found out about it.
I had found out because Thomas had gotten a letter in the mail saying that there wasn't a check in the envelope. And so he had come to me and told me he was very furious. And then he had made contact with the bank to find out what happened. He wanted an investigation.
So the first you found out about it was when your son came to you.
Yes.
And showed you what?
Showed me the letter he'd gotten from the bank.
Which is right here.
Yeah, I believe that there was nothing in the envelope.
Okay.
And I would have no reason to put a fake deposit slip in there because I had money in the bank already. If I really wanted to party, I can just pull money out of my bank and it'd be no problem.
Who handles this account for him?
He does.
I know.
How old was he when you let him start to take care of this money?
He started working when he was about 15, and he's really good with his money, very tight-fisted, and that's what I don't understand.
Well, he's not so tight-fisted if he was using some of his money for illegal things.
That is true.
Yeah, that's
However, I mean, when this incident happened, there would be no reason for him to put a fake deposit slip in there. If he already had money in there, all he had to do was just go out and pull it out.
That's true.
And they cut.
That's the only thing that I find troubling. Stand up. The only thing that I find troubling, quite frankly, is if this was his mother's bank account or one that was a joint bank account, and they had, in fact, his mother of the money,
right?
I could understand he would stick to his story. But this was his money. If he was going to take money out of that account to split to go partying, he can do that.
Yeah, we're not denying the whole story. I'm saying the whole thing sounds fishy to me.
Well, it does sound fishy to me, but my question, the question that I have to ask myself, why would Mr. Benson get this letter from the bank on February 2nd that says there was no check in this deposit envelope and take it to show his mother?
I have no idea.
That doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense to me
because
either.
If what he wanted to do was take out $200 and go partying with his friend, he would have done that. So why would he do this?
I have no idea.
Can you think of a reason?
Well, we weren't exactly both sober at the time either. We were the influence of alcohol, too.
You were?
Yes.
If you were under the influence of alcohol, why would he make up this story about a check and an envelope? Where had you been drinking?
Or we just walking around and stuff around town.
We hadn't been drinking. I wasn't drinking at all.
Well, first, when this whole thing started, they did come over to our house, and I was in the other room, and my husband was asking Thomas about this check, and he said that there was a check. My husband asked, okay, what was the color of it? Do you remember whose name was on it? What is the extra $50 for? And he said he was charging him $50 for cashing a check. And my husband asked him, why would you charge somebody $50 for cashing a check? I'm not, if these boys both did something, I didn't have a problem of paying the money back. I just wanted to come down to the bottom of the truth. And that's why I feel like we're here today.
Well, as I said to you, my problem is, why would he go to his mother?
Exactly.
If he was complicit in this incident.
I have no idea.
It doesn't make sense.
It doesn't.
And if it doesn't make sense, it's usually not true. Listen, the bank says there was no check enclosed. As a result, we've debited your account. Due to the nature of this transaction, we have disabled your ATM card to ensure that nobody is going to use it, but you can get another ATM card. If
Actually, they would not reissue me a card.
They cut it up right there.
Yeah.
And they won't give you another one?
No.
They were very sorry they had to do it because
And I was
he had built
very
a report
embarrassed
with
and
them.
humiliated because I would never defraud my bank. I knew everybody there very well, and I was very responsible with my money. I budgeted very well.
Well, that's not true. You bought some drugs with your money.
Every now and then.
What?
Every now and then, but...
Right. So that's not 100% accurate, right?
Well, compared to other people my age, I believe. Because a lot of people my age don't have bank accounts, don't have as much money as I did.
Miss Benson, he's very slick. He really is. He's very slick. I'm not sure, and I'm not convinced.
Well, I don't think he would have gone through all this trouble.
Yeah.
I mean, of
Unless
making a police report.
He just gave me a reason. When did they cut up your bank card?
A few days after I received that letter, though.
Few days. Just listen to me carefully. When did you make a police report?
It was April 3rd or 4th.
After they cut up your bank card?
Yeah.
April 13th.
It was after they cut up my bank card.
Oh, that's a reason. That's a reason.
We tried to contact them. We were told by the officer that took the report to contact the family that it was a civil matter, and our phone number was blocked.
I don't care. That's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about whether your son was aware of the fact that there was nothing in this deposit slip that the two boys brought to the bank in order
I did not know that. I thought...
Listen! That's my job to figure out. He gave me a perfectly cogent story. You did not give me a perfectly cogent story. I'm still not comfortable that you were actually part of it. But I'm not comfortable enough, quite frankly, Mr. Benson, of $20 here and $20 there and another $10 in interest, making it $50. I don't know what it was about. Maybe it was drug money. Maybe he was selling you something. Who knows? I'm not comfortable with your whole story. I'm also not comfortable with saying to you that you were part of the scheme. That's not what I have to determine today. What I have to determine today is whether or not they're going to pay you either all or half of what came out of your bank. And since what you're asking me for is to make a determination that the nailers owe you $250, I'm not prepared to do that because I'm not totally comfortable with your story.
Yeah.
What?
It's 200, not 250.
Thank you for correcting me, sir. What difference does it make?
That's correct. What difference does it make?
Right.
My son had also asked...
So there's no further issue. I'm not prepared to rule that you are entitled to $200 from the defendant because I'm not totally comfortable with your story, Tomas.
All right. Can I show you some emails that I had sent him beginning March 27th?
No, show me
22nd.
emails that he sent to you.
Well,
They're answering them right here.
Does he acknowledge that he owes you the money?
Yes.
Let me take a look at it.
This began March.
Hand them all.
This was on the...
Shh. See these emails?
No.
I have more right here.
Yeah, I
too.
also have more right here.
Continuation of all that.
What's that all about, sir?
These aren't even from me.
Yeah, they are from you. What do you think
No,
about that, sir?
They're not. Seriously, they're not from me.
Who's Rob's dad?
Robert was his next door neighbor.
And what kind of work does he do for Rob's dad?
Who? I'm sorry,
Your
who?
son.
He does, they can do yard work for him.
And has he done that in the past?
Yes.
Yes.
That's what it says there. I'm doing work for Rob's dad.
Yeah, but I didn't write most of this.
Couldn't have made it up.
Shh. Got it? Look at me, Mr. and Mrs. Naylor. Now you got it?
Yeah, I understand. I just don't understand about the check. This is what the whole weird thing is.
Listen, I don't understand about the checks either. I don't. And I'm not certain whether Tomas is talking about $100 or $200, because nowhere in there does it say how much you think he owes you, because according to him, he acknowledges he owes you $100, right?
Yes.
But not $200.
No. I asked for another check, actually.
Well, why would you ask for another check? If he didn't have a good check the first time, why would he give you a good check the second time from his grandmother? Interesting. And you did write that, Daniel.
Not all of it, though.
Daniel!
Daniel, just tell the truth. If you did it wrong.
Not all of it, though. I'm telling you, but yeah.
So you acknowledged you owed him some money.
Yes.
Yes.
And you acknowledged that you had a job and that you were going to get him some money.
Yes.
The question is 100 or 200. Is that it?
It's 100.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $100. That's all.
27-year-old Lisa Lane is suing her ex-boyfriend, 27-year-old Scott Eberspacher, for the cost to fix her bedroom window. Lisa claims Scott was trying to wake her up by throwing rocks.
All right, Lisa, how long were you dating Scott here when he made this nocturnal visit to your house?
About a month and a half.
Who do you live with?
I live with myself and my son.
And Scott was supposed to be over, according to your complaint, at about 10 o'clock that evening. Or he's
Right.
supposed to be over that evening, and he shows up at what time, Scott?
I got there around approximately 2:20 in the morning.
Why?
There was no set time, Your Honor.
How old is her child?
He would be 4.
There was no set time?
He was supposed to be
2:30
there
in the morning is not an appropriate time to go visiting, sir.
It's a booty call, Your Honor.
What?
It's a booty call. She always calls
Don't be
later.
smart.
He's supposed to be
Just
there
a
before
second.
9.
Don't be... Listen, when I speak to you, you'll answer me.
Right.
According to your complaint, he was supposed to be there at 10. He wasn't there at 10. You locked the doors. He came 2 o'clock in the morning, rang the bell, whatever. You didn't answer. So he went to your window and he threw a rock at your window to get your attention. He got your attention. He broke the window. He came in. You spent the night together. Later on, you said, I want him to pay for the window.
I didn't know the window was broken.
All
until the
right.
next
Later
morning.
on, they found the window broken and you want him to pay for the window. That's what the case is.
I have a videotape showing a scenario of how
Yeah, how he did it. You're not dating him anymore?
No.
What does that mean? That was a hesitation.
No, I do not date him anymore. He's too irresponsible.
So you haven't... When was the last time you saw him, Miss Lane? It's not an answer, madam.
I don't remember. It was like a month or so ago.
And when did this incident happen?
It was after the window was broke, because we joked about it, because he didn't really mean to break the window.
When did he break the window?
In April.
Okay. She says you broke the window, sir.
I didn't break the window, Your Honor.
I have the text message where he says he'll pay for it.
Oh. Is that dated?
Yes.
Okay. Show it to Byrd, because he is
'Cause
my
I sense-
electronic... I'm speaking. He is my electronic genius.
And so, if you just want to give that to the judge, then.
No, he doesn't give it to me. He's my electronic eyes and ears.
Scott Gold, you want me to find, but I say that this is why you pay association and insurance. I will probably never talk to you again if you want to go that route, so it's up to you.
What's the date of that?
May
Just go to the date.
May 29th.
Very good. And did you fix the window?
Yes, I did. And I have pictures of when it was broken.
I'd like to see the picture.
And I have the actual rocks, too. Here's the receipt, and here's the pictures when it was broken. Do you want the rocks?
You want the rocks?
No. Stick the rocks back where they were. These are the best pictures you could take.
I took a video flicks on my camera phone, and that's the best that we could come up with for a still shot. But I have the videotape right here that
I'm not interested in it.
Okay.
April 27th at 2:20 a.m. is when I went over to Lisa's house. And at that time, when I did, in fact, I tossed a ball, and then I tossed a very tiny pebble the size of a dime. Did not break the window. Matter of fact, the next morning when she had walked out, we walked out together, there was no broken glass or anything to my appearance or her appearance.
That's not English, to my appearance or to her appearance.
Okay. To my knowledge and to her knowledge, there was nothing broken.
Don't tell me about her knowledge. So your knowledge, there
To
was
my
no,
knowledge, there was
no
nothing
broken
broken.
window. Well,
Correct.
then your knowledge is limited. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $360. That's all.
Store owner Daniel Alvarez is suing his customer, Carmen Burgos, for cashing a counterfeit check at his store. Carmen says she was the victim of an internet scam.
Mr. Alvarez, what kind of store do you have, sir?
I have a general store. We sell music, we cash checks, we sell satellite. It's a little bit of everything.
The defendant was a customer of yours?
A regular customer. She had been there at least 4 or 5 occasions cashing checks.
And you charge a fee for that?
Yes, we do.
According to your complaint, sir, she came in with a check, which you cashed for her.
Correct.
And it turned out to be a bad check.
Yes.
And your bank withdrew the money from your account. You want her to compensate you for the check.
That is correct.
Ms. Burgos says it was a bad check. She was conned with this check, and she's sorry that you're out the money, but it's not her fault. It's the fault of the people who scammed her. That's her defense. Is that correct?
Yes,
Ms.
Your
Burgos?
Honor. I shouldn't
So
be
I
held
want you to
liable
tell
for it.
What?
I shouldn't be held liable for it because I had the
Ms. Burgos.
evidence. Yes.
Let's start from the beginning. Where did you get this check from?
It was mailed to me.
From an employer?
No, I'm always on the computer and I'm always filling out sweepstakes and filling out numbers for lotto and that. So when I received the check...
So you received the check because you thought you won a prize?
Yes, correct.
But she didn't tell me that, Your Honor. I'm sorry.
Don't interrupt her.
I'm sorry.
Your Honor, he wasn't there at the moment.
Listen to me.
Yes.
You got a check in the mail and you didn't know where it came from.
Correct. Yes, I thought
So
it was
you thought
a
maybe
sweepstakes.
that you had played around with on the computer?
Yes, correct.
You have a copy of the letter?
Yes, I do.
I'd like to take a look at it.
Well, I have a copy because I gave Mr. Alvarez the original and the envelope that it came in.
Shh. Mr. Alvarez, I don't want you to interrupt her.
That's the original. That is the original. Cool.
And I also gave him the envelope it came in.
Now, this letter says that you won the North American Ballot Sweepstakes.
Correct.
And it tells you to call Debbie Baum in Canada.
Yes, Your Honor, and that's who I called.
Just for my own information, when you called her, what is it that you claim she said to you?
Well, I called her because at first I, like...
Joe, tell me. Just answer my question.
I asked her about that I had received a check for a sweepstake for the sum of $2,900. And she told me yes, and I told her, well, it says here for processing. She goes, oh, no, that's no problem. You could go ahead and change. That's part of what you have won. There's 72 people that are in with it.
I read the letter. There's 72 people that are going to share in $1.8 million.
Right, and that's just the beginning of it, so you could go ahead and cash it.
Cash
So
it.
that's right.
Fine.
I went to
Do you have
Mr.
a copy of the check?
Yes, I have
I'd
the
like
original.
to see it. Oh, you have the original?
Yes.
Love
the
to
bank
see it.
returned it to me.
Love to see it. So you took the check into him?
Yes, correct.
To cash?
Yes. Like I've taken other checks.
State Employees Credit Union of Maryland, Inc. Well, I have to tell you, this certainly looks like, to my untrained eye, an official kind of check.
Correct. That's why I went to him and I cashed it.
Miss Burgos, I got it. You thought you woke up and it was your lucky day?
Yes, correct.
Byrd, take a look at this. An interesting looking check? Right?
Well, it even says official check.
It even says
Correct.
official
That's
check.
why I never-
And, just a minute, and they don't even ask you to do anything, like
Correct.
send them
That's
back
why-
half in this letter.
That's why I was like...
Don't, I'm speaking. Don't bother me. They don't even ask you to send back half. You know, sometimes say, send us $500 as a processing fee, and they just say, here's your $2,900.
Does it see the back?
Yeah, she signed it, and it came back that it was suspected counterfeit. In any event, you gave her the money.
Yes, I did.
You have proof of that?
Just from the bank when they took the money out because...
I'd like to see it. Now, when you were notified by the bank,
Right.
yeah, they charged your account for $2,950.
Correct.
Okay. Now, when did you cash the check for her? On what date?
Around the 14th of November.
And the bank returned the check to you when?
They didn't return it until the 20th or 21st, but they notified me 2 days later. First
So
they
on the
notified me.
16th?
Correct.
And when did you
No, I'm sorry, Your Honor,
notify?
it was after that.
Stop talking out! This is not a tea party! Now, When did you notify Miss Burgos?
That same day.
On the 16th,
Exactly.
2 days later.
Exactly.
How did you notify her?
I called her son-in-law because I know her son-in-law very well, and I called him up and I asked him to bring her over.
And when did he bring her over?
That same day.
On the 16th?
Exactly.
Okay, now tell me on the 16th what you said to her and what she
I
said.
told her, Miss Burgos, this check has returned counterfeit from the bank.
And she said to you?
I didn't know. And she produced this letter.
Good.
Correct. I said I
Just-
didn't
just-
know.
So why didn't you return the money to him?
At the moment, I didn't have the money. I had paid some of debts that I had.
Just
So
a second. What difference does that make to him? Put your hand down. First of all, it's 2 days later.
It's not 2 days later, Your Honor. It was more than 2 days
How
later.
many days?
It was about 4 or 5 days later.
4 days. Show me what debts you paid.
Well, I had some medical bills that I had to pay, so I went
Just a
ahead.
second. So you paid your medical
Sure.
bills.
I
Medical
was
bills.
like-
What else? What else
I
did you
paid
pay?
my electric bill, my phone bill, all my bills, and I
Now,
had
let me
a
ask
few-
you this question, Ms. Burgos. Before you came into this cash windfall, how did you pay your electric bill?
Well, I would pay it monthly.
From what?
From what I receive and also
What do you
my
mean from what you
children's-
receive? I don't understand that statement. Do you
Well,
work?
I get a Social Security check every month.
For what?
For a disability.
What's the nature of your disability?
For asthma, arthritis.
You have asthma and arthritis and you can't work?
No.
I know a lot of people who have asthma and arthritis who can work just fine.
I had problems. I was diagnosed with disability. So I...
Wait, just a second. When were you diagnosed with a disability from asthma and arthritis?
2 years ago.
Ms. Burgos, I'm believing less and less of what you tell me, madam, but I will tell you this. If you paid your bills, which you are responsible for paying, your medical bills, your electric bill, your phone bill, and I don't care what other kind of bills you paid, allegedly, and I know
And
you're
also I
lying.
bought
Listen
a
to me,
few-
and I know you're lying anyway.
No, I bought
Listen
a few
to me.
Christmas
Listen to me
presents,
very
yes.
carefully, and I know you're lying anyway. Then you have to pay him back the money.
Correct.
You paid your bills. You paid your bills. You're a scammer.
She told me
Let me
right
ask you this question. Who do you live with?
I live with my son and my daughter.
How old are they?
My daughter's 22 and my son is 19.
And what does your daughter do for a living?
She works. And my son
And your
also.
son?
He works.
Works.
They're the ones that help me with all the bills.
Because you don't work?
Yes.
Because of your asthma?
Yes.
She didn't tell me that. That day when she came in, she told me that she had only spent about $500 to $700
No, I told you that's
of the
what I
money.
had.
Miss Burgos,
I had 500
Miss
to
Burgos.
I
$700.
asked her specifically.
That's what I
I'm
told
so-
him I had.
Did you give it to him?
No. He
Just
told me...
shh. So why did you spend that money instead of giving it back to him?
Well, I didn't have it on me at that time.
Why didn't you go home and get it?
The gentleman told me, Mr. Alvarez told me that he was going to send that letter, the letter from that they had
That is
received
not
to
true.
the bank. Yes, it is, Mr. Alvarez.
Just
that
a second.
he was going
So
to take
what?
that
If
letter
there's a
to
question,
the
listen
bank.
to me. If there's a question, why didn't you say, listen, if there's a question and if this check was bad, I don't want Mr. Alvarez to be out the rest of this money. I'm going to hold what I haven't spent and give it to him if he's out of pocket.
Well, I had held it. I had it.
So
and
why
when-
didn't you give it to him?
Because when I spoke to Mr. Alvarez on the phone, I told him I have the $500. He says, no, I want all the money. That's what he said.
That is
and I
true.
says, well, I don't have all the money at the moment, okay? I could give you at least $500 at a time. He said, no, I want all the money at the same
You
time.
want to know something? You're a scammer.
It was-
You've been scamming
no.
Social Security in all probability for the
No,
last
I
2
haven't.
years.
I
I don't know
haven't.
how you got Social Security disability. How old are you?
I'm 47.
47. I know people who are 67 with asthma, they work.
Oh, I am disabled.
You must have had a
It was-
really, really fine lawyer. You owe him $2,950, Miss Burgos. You're a scammer, and you knew you did the wrong thing as soon as he told you that that check came back.
Yes. I'm
People very rarely get windfalls of money from the internet. Very rarely.
not a
Don't look like this to me.
I'm
I
not a
don't
scammer
know.
because that-
I don't know
that
how I
letter,
got
that
Social
check.
Security disability. I don't know where I got this check from. I don't know. Well, now you know that this man who was doing you a favor cashed your check and got penalized because of your stupidity. He got penalized. But you said, listen, I got the money. Let him go after the people.
I
Let him
told
go
her
after.
not to
I'm
spend the money.
speaking.
No, I didn't.
Let
tell
him go
I
after
didn't
the
think
people.
That way. I did not think that way.
Well, then you
did
should
not
have
think
returned the
that way.
money that you hadn't spent.
Okay, I did not. He didn't want the money that I had not spent.
So you spent
All
the
he
rest.
said-
Just a
no,
second. Hey,
I still
hey.
have the $500.
Supposed to set an example, Miss Burgos, for your children. You're not supposed to be a scammer.
I'm not
And
a
that,
scammer.
yes, you are. Yes, you are. and you believed in getting something for nothing.
No,
And you put him in a very precarious position. You've got a lot of nerve.
I've never
You've got a lot.
So hello everyone, welcome back to YouTube Automation Mastery Program. इस प्रोग्राम के अंदर हम पहले 5 मॉड्यूल्स तो डिस्कस कर ही चुके हैं. फिर जब हम 6 मॉड्यूल पे आए हैं तो यहाँ पे काफ़ी एक्सटेंसिव चीज़ें आपको एक्सप्लेन की जा रही हैं, आपको बड़ी डिटेल से चीज़ों को समझाया जा रहा है. हमने निश सिलेक्शन पे कम से कम 45 मिनट 50 मिनट बात की, टाइटल सिलेक्शन पे बहुत लंबी बात की, स्क्रिप्ट राइटिंग पे की, वॉइस ओवर पे की. फिर कॉपीराइट फ्री रिसोर्सेज भी आपको समझ आ गए हैं. अब जो अगली चीज़ है समझने वाली वो है दी 5 सेकेंड्स रूल, या फिर आप इसको ये कह सकते हैं कि फेयर यूज़ क्या होता है, ये हम आज समझ लेंगे. ठीक है, इसके लिए मैं आपको लेके जाता हूँ एक दफ़ा यूट्यूब पे और यहाँ पे कुछ आपको समझाता हूँ. देखें, फॉर एग्जांपल मैं चाहता हूँ मैं आज़ाद चाय वाला पे रोस्ट वीडियो बनाऊँ. मिसाल के तौर पे मैं चाहता हूँ मैं इन पे रोस्टिंग करूँ, ठीक है, या मैं चाहता हूँ मैं संदीप महेश्वरी पे रोस्टिंग करूँ. तो मुझे इनकी वीडियोस तो उठानी पड़ेंगी ना कहीं मुझे इनकी वीडियो अपनी वीडियो में तो यूज़ करनी है. लेकिन YouTube तो कहता है कि आप किसी का कंटेंट नहीं उठा सकते. किसी का भी कंटेंट आप यूज़ करोगे तो हो सकता है वो बंदा आपको स्ट्राइक मार दे. तो इससे बचने के लिए हमारी कोशिश होती है कि हम किसी का कंटेंट ना यूज़ करें. लेकिन कुछ ऐसे पैरामीटर्स हैं जिन पैरामीटर्स को अगर हम फॉलो कर लें तो हो सकता है कि हमें स्ट्राइक ना लगे, हो सकता है कि हमें YouTube कुछ भी ना कहे. वो जो पैरामीटर्स हैं उनको हम कहते हैं फेयर यूज़. यानी किसी का कंटेंट आपने यूज़ तो किया लेकिन बड़ा फेयरली यूज़ किया, उसको कोई ऐसा नुकसान नहीं आपने पहुंचाया, उसका कोई क्रेडिट आपने नहीं लिया, या किसी के कंटेंट की बेस पे आप ग्रो नहीं किए. अगर ये सब चीज़ें पॉसिबल हैं तो वो फेयर यूज़ है, और फेयर यूज़ करना कोई इशू वाली बात नहीं है. फेयर यूज़ कैसे किया जाता है? फेयर यूज़ किया जाता है अपनी वैल्यू एडिशन करके. मैं मिसाल के तौर पे अगर आज़ाद चाय वाला की वीडियो यूज़ करना चाहता हूँ तो मैं इसमें कुछ ऐसा करूँगा कि वो लगे कि ये मेरी चीज़ है, यानी मैंने उसमें कुछ ऐसी वैल्यू एडिशन की है जो मेरे साथ एसोसिएटेड है और वो आज़ाद चाय वाला के साथ एसोसिएटेड नहीं है. सिर्फ उसको मैंने यूज़ किया है एज अ रिप्रेजेंटेशन ऑफ समथिंग. मैंने इसकी वीडियो अगर यूज़ किया तो सिर्फ कुछ ना कुछ एक्सप्लेन करने के लिए यूज़ किया है, ना कि उसकी बेसिस पे मैं व्यूज़ लेके जा रहा हूँ या फिर अपने आप को ग्रो कर रहा हूँ. अगर आप चाहते हैं कि आप किसी की वीडियो उठाएं और आपको कोई स्ट्राइक ना लगे, आपको कोई क्रिएटर कुछ ना कहे, लॉन्ग टर्म में आपकी ग्रोथ हो, तो उसके लिए 5 सेकेंड रूल है. 5 सेकेंड रूल ये कहता है कि मैं YouTube पे मौजूद किसी भी वीडियो को उठा लूँ अगर, तो उसका 5 सेकेंड का क्लिप मैं अपनी वीडियो के अंदर यूज़ कर सकता हूँ. कुछ भी नहीं होगा. 5 सेकेंड से अगर नीचे है ना तो तब तो कुछ भी नहीं होगा, कोई मसला नहीं होगा. अब आपका अगला क्वेश्चन ये होगा कि व्हाट इफ़ मैं 5 सेकंड का क्लिप इससे उठा लूँ, 5 का इससे उठा लूँ, 5 का इससे उठा लूँ, 5 का इससे, 5 का इससे, तो तब मेरी वीडियो बन सकती है? बिल्कुल बन सकती है. लेकिन अगर आप फेयर यूज़ करें, अगर आपकी कमेंट्री जेन्युइन है, अगर इसकी 5 सेकंड की उठाई और इसकी उठाई, तो जो सामने आ रहा है उससे रिलेटेड आप कुछ कमेंट्स पास ऑन कर रहे हैं, आप कुछ उसमें अपनी वैल्यू एडिशन कर रहे हैं. फॉर एग्जाम्पल आपने रिएक्शन चैनल्स देखे होंगे. रिएक्शन चैनल तो कम्प्लीटली किसी ना किसी चैनल की चीज़ चला देते हैं. यानी कि आज़ाद चाय वाला की वीडियो चलाएंगे, सामने बैठ जाएंगे और बोलेंगे कि मैं इस पर रिएक्शन देता हूँ. तो वो भी फेयर यूज़ के अंदर आता है. अगर आप प्रॉपर उस पर कमेंट्री दे रहे हो, अगर आप टोटली अपना फेस भी शो कर रहे हो, आप उसके सामने भी आए हुए हो और आप अपनी लैंग्वेज में उस पर कमेंट्री भी कंटिन्यूसली पास ऑन कर रहे हो, तो ये चीज़ फिर इतना मसला आपके लिए नहीं करती. सिमिलरली आपने अगर अपने चैनल पे किसी का भी कंटेंट उठाना है, यूज़ करना है, तो उसके लिए 5 सेकंड तक एक जो वीडियो है उसको यूज़ करें, 5 सेकंड के लिए दूसरी कर लें, 5 सेकंड के लिए तीसरी कर लें, 5 सेकंड के लिए चौथी कर लें. लेकिन उसमें कुछ अपनी वैल्यू जो एडिशन करनी है आपने, उस वैल्यू एडिशन के अंदर पता है क्या क्या आएगा? उस वैल्यू एडिशन के अंदर आपके साउंड इफेक्ट्स आएंगे, बैकग्राउंड म्यूजिक आएगा, आपकी कमेंट्री आएगी, आपके टेक्स्ट आएगा, आपके पॉपअप साउंड्स आएंगे. इस तरह से कुछ चीज़ें अगर आप उसमें ऐड करें तो फिर आपको कोई भी कुछ भी नहीं कह सकता, चाहे आप किसी की वीडियो 5 सेकंड तक, अप टू 5 सेकंड आप उसको यूज़ करते चले जाओ. अगली चीज़ ये है कि अगर मैंने आज़ाद चाय वाला का 5 सेकंड का क्लिप अपनी वीडियो के शुरू में यूज़ किया, फिर 5 सेकंड का क्लिप वीडियो के बीच में यूज़ किया, फिर 5 सेकंड का कोई और क्लिप मैंने वीडियो के एंड पे किया, तो तब तो कोई मसला नहीं है, या तब भी मसला है? देखिए, तब भी कोई मसला नहीं है, इतनी इशू वाली बात नहीं है. अगर आप 5 सेकंड का शुरू में यूज़ कर रहे हो, 5 का एंड पे कर रहे हो, तो कोई इतना मसले वाली बात नहीं है, क्योंकि आप उसको इकट्ठे बहुत ज़्यादा देर के लिए नहीं कर रहे, तो इतना इशू वाली बात नहीं है. लेकिन वैल्यू एडिशन, वैल्यू एडिशन, वैल्यू एडिशन और वैल्यू एडिशन, अगर आपने सिर्फ 5 सेकंड का पकड़ लिया, इसका पकड़ लिया, इसका पकड़ लिया और तीनों को सिर्फ साथ जोड़ दिया और अपलोड कर दिया, पीछे अपना वॉइस ओवर चला दिया, तो तब मसला आने वाला है. ठीक है, कुछ ना कुछ वैल्यू एडिशन करनी है. नीचे आपका कुछ ना कुछ टेक्स्ट लिखा हुआ आ रहा हो, कुछ कैप्शंस ऐड ऑन हुए हो, यानी कुछ तो आपका होना चाहिए ना, तब जाके आपको कोई स्ट्राइक नहीं लगेगी, कोई भी मसला नहीं आएगा. ठीक है। सो दैट्स ऑल फॉर दिस वीडियो। मैंने कहा आपको ये मैं क्विकली समझा दूं ताकि आपको ये मसला ना हो और आप इन द लॉन्गर रन नुकसान ना उठाएं। सो मिलते हैं इंशाल्लाह अगली वीडियो में, तब तक के लिए अल्लाह हाफिज़।